everybody, welcome back to another Batman News Weekly. This is episode 159, and I am your host, Juice Wayne. He is Dad Boy Clay, and today we got some stuff to talk about. If you're in the Discord, I didn't know what the fuck we're talking about this week, so Clay can go ahead and run down what we're talking about today.
Yeah, so it's not going to be a whole lot. We were just talking before we went live. There is going to be talks about Cape Crusader. WB is getting sued by shareholders, and Zaslav has basically said no to the rumors of WB being sold in the future. But I call bullshit, and we'll talk about that later. And then, of course, there's comic reviews. There's nothing really else out there in the ethos of things Batman related. Us as Blue Beetle fans, though, the really cool thing that we heard was screening has shown, and it was over 2.5 hours long.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that, man. I don't
It's
know.
the first edit, so I think that
Yeah.
of course, it'll get cut down and cut down. But man, 2.5 hours of Blue Beetle, how much of that do you think is George Lopez?
Oh God, that would be like it's just him do like 30 minutes of him doing a set, like he's just on stage, just fucking saying the same shit over and over.
Oh shit!
But yeah, oh, that would be so crazy if that was a thing. I don't know, man. I heard that runtime and I was like, oh God, I was like, it's the Batman all over again. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
think
that's
it's
I'm kind of tired of longer movies, but I do
yeah,
know the one movie that I'm gonna be able to see. I'm really trying, because me and Juice have this ordeal with who buys tickets and whatnot.
yeah,
I am trying to pick up some freelancer work so I can go see Black Adam with you.
yeah.
Um, don't know if it'll be in the cards, but
I mean, I could buy these tickets and then you buy the next two.
that's true. That is
Yeah.
also true.
So.
But I do know that you probably, well, I don't know how you feel. How do you, because I know how you feel about the MCU, but how do you feel about Black Panther? Because that comes out in November, and
Um,
that is
I
hitting 2 hours and 40 minutes.
oh no, thank you, no, because I already don't like the MCU. The
Yeah.
only thing that I'm willing to go see right now that I know is coming out is Deadpool 3, just because
Dude,
of Hugh Jackman. Okay,
fuck, dude.
I
That
would have
was
skipped it if it was
pretty
just Ryan
cool.
Reynolds, so I would have waited.
I probably still would have seen it. I've been
Yeah.
seeing everything MCU, but just for the fact that Hugh Jackman is coming back, that is wild.
And you know what? I will say Ryan Reynolds is I mean, everybody knows he's a master of marketing, but they did it really good with people are like, oh my God, I thought Logan was the last film and they're going to next Logan and blah, blah, blah. And they made that one thing. They're like, you guys got questions. And they were like, you're talking about Logan. This happens before Logan. So don't worry about that. And I was like, good. Now you can just shut all the normies up. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm pretty sure really a lot of people are gonna be like, well, technically with the MCU and the multiverse is actually, you're gonna have those bitches. But for the majority of people that are like, oh, but what about Logan? As long as you just say, oh, this happens before Logan, then nothing matters. Because
Yeah.
Logan didn't show a lot. The only thing that does suck is since it happens before Logan, that means we won't get X-23, which she needs to be in the
True.
MCU.
Well, no,
So
because the really cool thing now in comics is that X-23 has been cloned in Marvel Comics,
mhm.
and her clone is named Gabby, and she's a little kid.
Oh, okay.
And her and Deadpool are best friends. They
Huh.
talk
The little kid?
yeah, they
Oh
go out
wow.
on missions and stuff,
Mhm.
and Deadpool tries to be PG, but he can't because he's
Yeah.
Deadpool. And then because Gabby is also a Wolverine, she has a healing factor also and can get really fucked up and whatnot. And
Yeah.
so when they're both fighting, they both really get fucked up and they're like, man, we're both broken. What do we do now?
Yeah.
It's just it's a really funny dynamic between a little kid and Deadpool. And I think that would be really cool. Maybe
Yeah.
they can do that with in the future, possibly,
Yeah.
of bringing a child X-23 or Gabby in the future with Deadpool. That would be pretty
Yeah.
cool.
I just don't I'm still curious, is it gonna be rated R? You know?
That's what they've said it will be. They said it would
Because
be.
I don't know. You just can't. I've always hated Wolverine PG-13 because there's no blood, dude. He just chops people in half. Like that's all he does.
Yeah.
You know? And you got to see it. So I don't know. We'll see. They're like best friends in real life, so I can only imagine how those like bloopers and sets and stuff are going to be. Like that will be like probably one of those times when I want to see the behind the scenes to
Yeah.
just see how they're going around. I saw a TMZ thing where Hugh Jackman's pretty excited. Like some guy hit him up on the street. He's like, "Hugh, dude, we're super excited." And he's like, "Ah, I'm super excited too, man. Can't wait." Blah blah
Well,
blah.
I
So,
think the best part about all of this is that Hugh is gonna wear, because they've already confirmed the plan is to wear the yellow suit.
oh, is
But
he?
yeah, so wearing the yellow suit means he will still need to work out, but not as much,
Yeah,
because it's not like he has, because every other Wolverine movie, his shirt is off, you're showing all of his muscles, he
yeah,
really had to tone down for that stuff. For this, he kind of just needs to bulk up a little bit and then
yeah. He's got to
have
show
the
his
suit.
arms.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that'd be pretty cool. Because I know that's one of the reasons why he left. He was like, "I'm just done with the working out." Which I feel that, man. I'm trying to work out right now. And I'm just like, it's too much. I can only imagine what those guys are doing. But anyways, let's move on to actual Batman related topics, ladies and gentlemen. Starting off with this, what is this lawsuit about? What's going on here?
So this lawsuit, from what we have seen in the uh, with the shareholders meeting, with the investors call. So Zaslav and WBD basically told the investors, the shareholders, everybody, false information to basically secure them as shareholders, for them to, because apparently there has been a lot of talk between like higher dollar shareholders that actually like know each other and conversate and everything else, that
Yeah.
like, hey, like we should abandon ship because WBD is going downhill.
Mm,
And apparently, like Zaslav, of course, wants these shareholders. They want to make WBD valuable so that way they make money. And they lied. They lied to everybody saying, hey, the number of subscribers that we have to guarantee X amount of revenue every year because of our subscriber count goes directly to us is actually this much. And then come to find out it was 10 million subscribers lower.
damn.
Yeah. So
Um, yeah, I don't know.
it's not looking great for Zaslav.
Mhm.
I have been on a roller coaster of emotions with this dude.
Mhm.
Because when we first got the announcement, I was like, "Oh man, this dude's gonna really like hopefully bring something to the DCEU, and we're gonna get something solidified and be able to move past everything in regards to the Snyder cult and everything that we've had in the past, and we get a solidified timeline and go just forward from there." That's what I
Yeah.
thought. Then when he started canceling everything and throwing everything away and shit, I was like, "What the fuck is this dude doing?" And now I'm just like, I don't know what to say with this, because I called it months ago that I feel like Zaslav might sell when available to sell,
Mhm.
and now we're hearing rumors that he's going to sell. Now he's saying that he won't. He says we are not for sale in regards to WBD, but like when you have a lawsuit against you and you're like lying as far as your information and trying to persuade shareholders to keep them giving you money and stuff, like that's not looking great, like at all,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, I mean, CEOs can always be ousted. So, I mean, it's very possible that somebody new gets put into that seat and they don't get sold. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, it's not looking good for that new movie that came out.
Oh, don't
So,
worry, darling. Yeah,
yeah,
it is not looking great for them. Um, and it's really weird from what we've been hearing. Uh, Zaslav had this like meeting with like all of the WBD employees that lasted
yeah,
like an hour and a half or something. Um, and it from what I was reading in this article, it was kind of cringeworthy. He was like, "Guys, don't worry, everybody's safe, blah blah. Don't worry about the media, blah 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 blah. Hey, if you work really hard, we can all do this together. And hey, as an incentive, if you know your area of expertise, blah blah blah, gets this many whatever." He's like persuading people with like what is known as the Zaslav vest. Like, think of a
Okay.
Walmart vest.
Uh,
And like he has like because he apparently wears a lot of vests in his like if you see a picture of him, he's always wearing a vest.
uh,
And like that is like his trademark. And he's wanting to give them away to WBD employees as like
yeah.
incentives.
If I'm working hard, I want money or a vacation. Like,
No
what the fuck?
shit.
A vest? Like, what the hell? I will say,
Oh,
like, corporations don't understand what employees want. At our old job, when you hit 5 years, you got to
fuck.
pick from a, like, list of, like, items that you wanted, and it was like a watch, or, like, Bluetooth speakers, like, for 5 years, it was really shitty stuff. I ended up getting the Bluetooth speakers because they were, like, waterproof outdoors, and I just gave them to my dad. I was like, "Here." I was like, "I know you're outside all the time." But, like, it's just really shit stuff, and you get a plaque, and that's it. I'm like, "Woohoo, yay, I've been at this company for 5 years." Like, dude, give me a fucking vacation or something. You're like a billion-dollar company. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of bullshit with a lot of these corporations. What the fuck would I want to vest? Like,
Yeah,
you
it's
got money.
wild. But just the reason why we're bringing this lawsuit up and not for sale stuff is really like we are still very unsure on what the future of DCEU Batman is after what we can assume would be the Flash. Of course,
Yes.
there is, of course, the rumors of Aquaman. Well, technically, not even after Flash would be Aquaman because Aquaman comes out after the Flash.
Yeah.
Um, but we have not had like because of the idea of selling off in 2024 is still a very big possibility. April of 2024. Um, that 10-year plan was all bullshit. Like
Yeah.
it was pure bullshit. Um, so I have no idea how WB is going to try to dig themselves out of their own grave.
Yeah, I just don't know what the idea. I don't even think it's WB at this point, though. I think it's Discovery. Discovery is the one that's taking them over. They're just using the name. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I don't know what Discovery's plan is because WB seemed like they had a plan. It wasn't the best plan, but they had a plan. You know, they
true.
were releasing all these random ass movies and HBO shows and shit like that. Zaslav is like, we're gonna focus on quality, but I just don't understand it. I don't get it. I mean, their quality right now isn't it like reality shows? Like that's their quality.
Yeah.
Um, so I just don't. I don't think he's the right person for the job if he hasn't been there before. But again, we'll see what happens, man. I mean, all it takes is if Black Adam's great, then bam, that's good, and then it goes on to the Flash, and they have two bangers in a row. And no, I think it's Shazam, right? Is it Black Adam then Shazam?
It's Black Adam, then Shazam in March, then the Flash in the summer, and then Aquaman in the
Yeah.
winter.
So I mean, it's possible to have four solid movies in a row, but we'll see what happens. But I mean, it can't. Nothing can happen for 2 years, so it's just kind of speculation for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. They'll find money, man. Hollywood is all borrow here, borrow there.
Oh yeah,
Whatever.
100%. Now,
Um,
I did see it. We possibly could discuss it in our questions or whatever. But as far as content goes, like we still need to finish Harley Quinn,
yeah.
because that has officially finished. Season 3 has finished.
Oh, okay.
And then Drew has mentioned we could always review Bat Wheels.
Yeah. Well, no. I think Drew is actually. Did he say that? I think Charlie's the one that's been talking about Bat Wheels.
Oh, Drew said Super Pets because it's now on
Yeah,
HBO
yeah,
Max,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Jeez.
So I haven't even seen that either. I haven't seen anything. I've been wanting to watch anime lately, and I haven't been able to watch that either. So I've just been hella busy. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens, man. with the rumors of Cape Crusader having Apple and Amazon now in the mix, it is. I wonder if Amazon's all like WB is going to be available in 2 years. You know what I mean? Can you
I
imagine them adding that catalog to Amazon
fuck.
Prime?
If if Bezos buys WB and gets all the DC catalog, that would
Yeah.
be absolutely wild.
Yeah, it would be fucking crazy because they have no problem spending money. I think that's when you would probably get like a legit Green Arrow series that's like violent and badass.
Well, I think you could go all sorts of different ways, and I do think that like just like what you could do in a way that they did it on the CW, but a way that I feel like more people would find it more entertaining, even though the animation for the CW stuff was really cool, was do the animation stuff like The Boys. You make a show for whoever, whether it be
Yeah,
Batman, whether it be Superman, whether it be um any popular character that comes out within the next 5 years, and then like, oh, we want to expand the world, let's do a series of shorts as one season, release it all at once,
yeah,
and whatever characters pop off, you can create a live action show from that, you know.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, man. They're definitely spinning shit out of the boys like big time. So I can only imagine what they would do with something like DC. And I think Amazon would just love to like own everything DC because then they're like, all right, we can have our own movie franchise. We can now have Amazon in every blockbuster movie. We can start getting like Oscar award kind of bullshit if we want to. They could really really push the Amazon brand with that entertainment wise,
Yeah.
and it would be pretty insane. So I would be shocked. I mean, I don't know. Amazon is what one of the biggest companies in the world, but everybody was always automatically was like, "Oh, NBC Comcast is the one that's going to buy them." And I know Comcast is huge, but I'm curious on how that would go about. But I mean, again, Apple's always like, "We have all the money in the world, so why don't we buy it?" You know. Um, and then, like I said, you just start getting Batman iPhones and shit, and that's how they start, making every year do something. But yeah, so I don't know, a lot of shit happening. But is any of that crazier than these rumors of The Rock pitching Black Adam versus Justice League and the Suicide Squad? Not Black Adam versus Justice League versus Suicide Squad. No, no, no. Black Adam versus Justice League and the
And
Suicide
Suicide
Squad.
Squad. So I was really thinking about this, Juice. Like, is it possible? Because I will say this is coming from somebody who, of course, a lot of people do not like Grace Randolph. But in the last 6 months,
Hmm.
she has hit every single scoop that she has thrown out, which is
Really?
wild. Which is
Yeah.
wild. Like pretty close to 6 months now. Um
Maybe
I
she's in bed with Zaslav. Man,
I
she's got fucking like 50-year-old aunt vibes, okay? Like she's got I get drunk on the weekend aunt vibes. That is Grace Randolph.
That is very true. When you look
You
at her,
know?
that's the
Yeah.
exact vibe you get. Um, but I genuinely think The Rock just wants to stroke his ego a little bit. Like I
Yeah.
genuinely think this is real.
Yeah.
Now, of course, will it happen? No idea. But I think that once Black Adam comes out, and if it pops off, because I'm still hesitant on if this is going to be a movie that everybody's like, this is fucking amazing, you
Yeah.
know? Um, I think more people are going to enjoy other characters in the movie and not Black Adam. That's the bigger thing. Um,
Possibly.
but if this legit is a hit and makes a ton of money, Zazov is going to be like, okay, we need to recover all the money that we've lost in so many years. We need to make this movie.
I just don't think you can with all of the stars it would take to make that movie. Like the budget for just the actors would be like over $100 million. You know?
Yeah. I
So
mean,
it ain't happening unless it was like an end game scenario. And if you really think Black Adam is a reason for an end game scenario, fuck off. You know what I mean? Like I asked The Rock on see what needs to happen is if you are a reporter or you're somebody that goes to these events and actually talks to celebrities, you need to be the person to ask Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, be like, "Hey, I heard there's a rumor that you don't lose in with your movie contracts. Are you not going to lose in DC because technically you kind of need to." Like if Black Adam doesn't lose to Shazam, I call bullshit. Shazam needs to win that. Shazam could get his ass beat most of the film, but at the end of that film, Shazam should be on top,
Yeah.
you know? And I don't like this idea of like, because the thing is, I don't know where The Rock got this ego from because he comes from a business where you were supposed to take the fall to make other people look good. So if anybody out of all of these meatheads in Hollywood should know that, like, oh, I need to lose to make somebody else look better, it should be The Rock. But I don't understand like why he's like, no, I can't lose a fight. Or if I lose a fight, I gotta win a fight later. Like I don't understand that. Like he lost twice to Stone Cold. Like
We don't lose. I don't lose. We
yeah,
call it a tie with me having the better grip on the handshake. Like
yeah. It's just
that's
like
like because I can see that happening. It's like, oh, I don't lose. I team up with a good guy instead, and we both are good guys. Like
yeah, I hate that. Yeah.
it's really annoying. But
You
as
can't be
far
the
as
guy that kills all these people and then oh yeah, now I'm good guy.
I didn't even think about the budget, to be completely honest. When I heard this
Yeah.
rumor, I was just like, yeah, it's probably so true that he wants to stroke his ego. But you're right. Like Gal, Jason, and Ben by themselves, like that is a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
Then you
Yeah.
have Margot Robbie coming back as Harley Quinn,
John Cena. Because he would be
John
there.
Cena, because he would be there.
Yeah.
Cena and The Rock, Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Yeah. Definitely. It has to happen.
They would be the
Yeah.
last two standing. Fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. Over everybody. Batman's all like sprawled out. Superman's dead. Wonder Woman's like trapped in some force or whatever.
Somehow the wreckage of wherever they're fighting turns into an actual like fucking wrestling rink.
Yeah.
Shit,
Well, no,
dude.
what would end up happening was Black Adam would have destroyed everybody, and then Cena would be right behind him. He's like, I didn't see you. And then he would be like,
Oh
nobody
no!
does. Yeah,
No,
that's
no,
exactly
no!
what would happen.
No!
That's exactly what it. And then he would do the 5 fingers in his face, and then he would fucking do the F5, the FU to freaking The Rock, and that's it. It's over. And then Vince
No!
McMahon comes out of nowhere and counts to 3. 1, 2, 3, and it's over. It's over, ladies and gentlemen. That's
Oh
exactly what
no!
would happen.
Oh god!
Yes, of course they would have Cena at the end somehow. Yeah, because he would be like, "This is for America," or they'd have him do some very stupid bullshit. He would definitely use that line that "You can't see me" though against The Rock for sure.
Like
Um,
I could, you know what it would be? He would punch The Rock, but because it's Black Adam, he has like super hard skin, and he would like wince his hand and shake it, but do it right in front
yeah,
of his face
yeah,
to make it
probably,
look like the you can't see me. That's
yeah,
what
for
it would
sure.
be.
Oh
Oh
my
no!
god, that would be so
What
bad.
have we done?
Yeah. Hey, but we said it here now, so technically it's our idea. So they can't do it now legally because if it happens, well, then you stole it from us, and well,
And
we
we
have
have the proof.
we have the proof. So we'll take a nice little paycheck. All right, keep our mouths shut that we create the idea. But anyways, yeah, that
Jesus.
would just be it would be dumb. Black Adam shouldn't be the focus of the DCEU. And I genuinely think that if Black Adam doesn't do well, I don't think The Rock comes back. Personally,
I don't think so. Because let's be completely honest, whenever it comes to the Rock movies, the only one that has had a sequel is Jumanji, and that's because it's
yeah,
the only one that I think you would call critically successful.
yeah,
Um,
almost $1 billion, which I still don't know how that happened. I mean, $1 billion just is worth Karen Gillan, so I guess.
Karen Gillan, you have Jack Black, you have a good cast of characters in
Yeah,
that, except for Kevin Hart. Um, but
racist.
Jesus Christ! But you have all of his other movies like San
Mhm.
Andreas, Rampage, like
Yeah,
Skyscraper, like all of these different movies that were maybe okay to DF level movies.
Hmm.
No sign of a sequel whatsoever.
Yeah.
One and done's because okay, that didn't hit, move on to the next thing. And I think that's what The Rock does. He's like, okay, that was successful, but I'll move on to something that I hope is better. Like,
Yeah.
and if the DC universe is not better than his other stuff, then he'll probably move on to Marvel.
Yeah, the only thing I want to see The Rock do is do a movie, remake The Mummy, but bring back Brendan Fraser. Give him the spotlight again, you
I'd
know?
be down.
Because The Rock was a Scorpion King or whatever the fuck that was, and be like, oh yeah, I'm coming back as a Scorpion King, but have Brendan Fraser be the reason he comes back or some shit like that. I don't know. That's what I would do because that's the only thing I care about. But who knows? Who knows? Yeah. So there's all of that, and that's pretty much all the news. There's not really much going on right now. Like Batman has been very quiet. Like he has not been doing much. It's mainly all comic news, and we're just waiting for the game to come out. You know.
Yeah.
So there's not much going on. All the shows are dead pretty much, except for I don't know how Gotham Knights hasn't been canned. Blows my mind.
Well, technically, we still have Stargirl, we still have Titans, dear God,
Yeah.
and Doom Patrol. And it has been confirmed that Stargirl and Titans are crossing over. Don't know if Doom Patrol is going to be a part of that. So,
Hmm. Interesting. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't see the Black Adam thing happening, but I do hope Black Adam's a good movie, though. I will say the second trailer got me interested. So more than
there's a new trailer in China happening right now. It just
yeah.
released today, and Doctor Fate has a Iron Man moment where like camera zooms in on the helmet, and it
Yeah,
then
I instantly skipped it. I was like, no, I don't want to see it. So I was like, I don't want to. I've already seen enough,
yeah.
because I know especially rock movies like to show all the good shit. So
Yeah, but that's why I said I think that this movie is going to come out where a lot of people are like, "Oh man, Doctor Fate," like,
yeah,
"Oh
yeah.
man, Hawkman," and it's going to be less about Black Adam.
Which would probably be the best thing, to be
Yeah,
honest. Like, all right, we need him, but he again, The Rock needs to fall to Shazam. Um, I'm just really curious about the origin and stuff. You know what I mean? Because they somehow were able to keep him contained for 500 years or
yeah.
whatever that whole shit is. So I want to see like it's gonna be so weird if he got. I think this is something you can retcon because I am going into this movie thinking they fucked up the origin because the director gave me no confidence in what like he was saying about the movie. And so I think they fucked up the origin and it's probably going to be like he just magically gets the powers like a super saiyan after his son dies or something like that is what I'm thinking. But I think it's something you could retcon in a Shazam movie where they're like, no, 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 you think you got your powers that way, but it was actually like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, we'll see, but I'm kind of like that's the only thing I'm worried about to see is how it connects to Shazam because I think The Rock would have been like, no, let's change it and let's make it different. Like, you know what I mean? Like the powers were within me the whole time. You know what I mean?
I
Like,
am the power.
yeah. So, like, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, that's it for that. So let's go ahead and jump over to YouTube comments and questions from the Discord.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and go to
I actually haven't
we'll
checked out the YouTube.
we'll go from bottom to top this time.
All right.
So oh man, this is a name that I cannot pronounce. I do apologize. Srinivasan
Yeah.
Balaji?
I would just be like
Juice,
San Basan. That's what I would say.
you're a delusional Batcat shipper.
Am I though? I think delusional. Wouldn't that be like putting characters that never been together, like Naruto and Sasuke?
So the reply to this is from Moncry, uh, Lord Zeno, Lord and Lorenzo. Sorry. Uh,
Yeah,
at least he doesn't ship Bruce and Alfred like someone I know. What the fuck?
yeah, that's crazy. Monkey's always doing some crazy shit though. I ship Bruce and Zatanna. So here's the thing. I think Vasan here doesn't know what the word delusional means. Clearly doesn't know what delusional means. Because You can't ship somebody that have genuinely fucked. It's not a ship. Shipping is like characters that don't really go together or that you want to be together and there's maybe a way to they're married. Like it's not delusional.
So, okay, I've never really been in the, I guess, I don't even know how to say this. Like the whole shipping
Shipping,
thing, like
yeah.
I guess I don't understand it because I thought that whoever has been in a relationship or like you, there is some
Mhm.
part of me that said, "Oh, well if they're not in a relationship, you ship them
Yeah.
so that way in head canon or whatever they are in a relationship."
Yeah.
Because I've seen people be like, "Oh, Batgirl and Nightwing, I ship
Mhm.
them." Well, they've been together, so that doesn't really
Yeah.
make any sense.
Yeah.
Uh but I would totally agree with the way that you've said it. Like Catwoman and Batman have been together. You can't ship them.
Yeah.
I would say that you could ship
I mean, you
Bat.
could ship Bruce and Zatanna. They've been together at one point, but they've never been like a couple throughout comics.
Yes, they've never said,
You know,
"Hey, we are in a relationship for a long period of time."
it's just been hinted at. Like when he
Yes.
was training with her father, they probably hooked up, and there's been hints at like they've hooked up on and off throughout continuity or whatever.
Yeah.
But so you could ship them, but I'm not a delusional Batcat shipper because Batcat is fucking married, depending on what you're reading. So, like, I think you're using the wrong word there. If you're saying I'm a Batcat supporter, then 100% you're right. But I think you're using the wrong words here, and they don't make sense. So, but yeah, of course I'm a fucking Batcat supporter because there's not anybody else. The only other person I would agree, I think Zatanna would be fine, but I think the only other person I'd be cool with shipping Selena out for would be Wonder Woman. That's the only other relationship I want
Well,
to
I
see.
was I was just about to say if there was somebody that they decided, hey, Batman's gonna start dating and or possibly like be with
Yeah,
X hero or heroine, like Wonder Woman is the only one for you.
pretty much. I mean, who else would you go with?
I don't know. I
I
could
only like
name.
Zatanna because they have the like young love
They have
type
the
of
young
vibe.
love, and then you have the whole thing with Wonder Woman and Batman. It's like man and God, right?
Yeah,
And I think they are also complete opposites, which I think people would really enjoy in a relationship as far as like dark and brooding, light and hopeful
yeah,
for Wonder Woman. Um, shit, I don't know.
yeah. I
Because
think Wonder Woman's the only one.
just throw around names, Hawk Girl, you have Power
I think
Girl,
some
you
people would say Black Canary, but
Black
like you're
Canary.
taking Black Canary away from Oliver,
Oh
which I don't
God,
think is.
All Star Batman, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Canary
All-Star
and
Batman
Bruce.
was just it was Frank Miller's excuse to like write his own kind of hentai. And that's like what he was doing. He was like, I want to see Batman fuck Black Canary. I'm gonna write it into fucking it's because he probably didn't know R34 existed. So he was just
I
kind of
mean,
writing all
that's
that.
also true.
But yeah, no, I think Wonder Woman's probably the only other person that I would see that is plausible. Because there's been hints at it in all different types of media. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? And so like and she's kind of had this interest in him. I think her versus I would put Bruce over Superman in that. I know that they dated at one point, but that just felt a little too like easy, if that makes sense.
for Wonder Woman, you mean? Yeah,
When Wonder Woman dated Superman, you know, it's like, oh, the most two powerful people in like the heroes dating. Like, I don't know. I don't think it's an interesting like story to tell, you know? It just seems like, yeah, I could see that happening. But like
like
Bruce and Wonder Woman together, that's an interesting story.
the way they played it off in the New 52 was like Clark had grown up
Hmm.
on Earth and got accustomed to Earth life,
Yeah.
life among men. Whereas Wonder Woman came to man's world later on in life, and so she had to learn. And who else to learn from it than somebody at her statute?
Mm,
And of course, like they have a lot in common in that. And so he
yeah.
was teaching her while also dating her. It was very weird.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So I don't
but yeah,
know.
I get
But
it. I get it.
yeah, I wouldn't say that. But next one, what do we got? We have
Uh,
Alexis Barrera. If you had to pitch a DC show for CW or Fox, what would it be and why? I People are gonna laugh at this, but I would do what freaking dub HBO and what Fox tried to do, and let's do an actual fucking Gotham Central. They
yeah.
Everybody starts off with that idea and then they don't do it. I'm just like, just fucking do it. And just have like bad villains pop in for like an arc or two in the series. Don't
Yeah.
make them in. You don't make them the main thing. No, you do it like a The Wire or some shit. Like you have a hardcore detective thing in Gotham, and every once in a while the Joker shows up or like so and so. But you
Yeah,
don't
like
focus on the villains.
I think that they had it like on paper they had it right.
Yeah.
You should have gone the True Detective route with
Hmm.
sprinkle of DC Comics. That's all you had to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, for me, I
The
think
only thing I know about True Detective is Alexandra Daddario's boobs. That's the only thing I know.
I
I was just saw
randomly
like,
see that
yeah,
GIF and or video on Twitter pop up like once every other month or so, and I'm just
yeah.
like,
The only
God
thing I know.
damn,
I'm
people
just
are
like,
just fucking
damn.
thirsty.
I always thought that she would have been a great Zatanna if we
A
weren't
lot of
going.
people still think so.
Yeah. It's because of her eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, her eyes like just they're fucking great for a Zatanna. But
For
yeah.
me, I think a pitch for a DC show for CW or Fox. I would really want to see, and I know people are going to be against this, but if you give it the same kind of love that they've given Superman and Lois,
Hmm.
and kind of like the cinematography, like they didn't just go with story on that show. They really like the direction, the cinematography, they went all out on most of that. I would love to see people attempt Batman on on the small screen.
Yeah, I think
And and
people.
and not the way that of course Smallville and Gotham tried with like, oh, we're going to focus on Bruce Wayne and do this.
Yeah.
Like no, like try to do like basically what it would be is the way you did Supernatural with freak of the week type stuff.
Hmm.
It be always at night and you have a dark show and just be fucking Batman, you know?
Yeah, I think it'd be cool. I don't know if we'll ever see that though. Just because I think it's like what I was mentioning like with comics, right? Everybody when it comes to Batman, they just try to show you cool shit and they don't focus on the story, and I think a lot of directors do that. You know what I mean? Now, a
Yeah.
lot of people will be like, "Well, Reeves focused on the story." And be like, "Yeah, that's true. Reeves did focus on the story, but he focused on it way too fucking much and that movie was way too fucking long." You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like you could have cut out a lot of that movie and still made it really good.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, if you're gonna use the Reeve defense, like, was Riddler really a good character? I don't think so. You know what I mean? So like you're not really focusing on story, or at least you're not focusing on good character development, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. I just don't I feel like Batman is so easy for people to fuck up. Which it blows your mind, right? Because there's 80 years of you to be able to make it good.
Which is wild because if you look up right now, Batman live action TV, there has
Hmm.
been one live action Batman on screen,
Yeah.
and it was Birds of Prey. He showed up on the very first episode in a flashback, and it's quite
Hmm.
possibly the coolest looking Batman suit I've seen. And it was very reminiscent of like Batman Forever, like Keaton's, Kilmer's,
Yeah.
and Clooney's suit, but it still looked great. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, that was on TV. That wasn't in a movie. That wasn't like in a animated show. That was live action TV.
Yeah.
But we only got it for like a split second.
Well, I mean, even there's like a bunch of cosplayers that have great Batman suits. So
Yes.
like, it doesn't make any sense because I know that there's no. I mean, I don't know these people personally, but I doubt cosplayers are dropping $100,000 on Batman suits. You know what I mean? Probably thousands for sure,
Yeah.
but I doubt $100,000. You know what I mean? So Yeah, I don't know, man. It'll be very interesting to see if anything like that ever happens. But yeah, I still think I still just want a basic ass Gotham Central show, man. Because cop shows always do well, man. What do you think Cops has been on for? Well, is Cops still on, or
No, they
they got
cut it.
canceled, right? They got canceled after the whole like ACAB bullshit, right? Yeah, yeah, that's I mean, but look at how long that survived for. Cops was
Yeah.
on when I was a kid.
Oh
So
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
people just love watching cop shit and you just do why do you think some of the best shows in the world always involve cops too? Breaking Bad had a cop element. Fucking The Wire, it was all a lot of that shit too, you know what I mean? So like I don't know. I think they should just do that. Anyways, let's move on to the next question, which is this Kaye Joss?
I would
Yeah,
say Clay,
yeah, that makes sense. That's a different way to spell
Clay Yos. Which DC character outside of the Bat family do you think has the best comic run since New 52 or Rebirth? Now, this is going to be hard for Juice to answer because he
it. Yeah.
doesn't read anything that's not Bat family related.
For the most part. In the New 52, I read actually a decent amount. So that's when I had money that I didn't know how to spend. And so I was buying a lot of the graphic novel stuff. So like I
Okay.
actually have a majority of Supergirl, I have a majority of Aquaman, I have a majority of Wonder Woman. So I have a lot of New 52. I think some of the Green Lanterns. Uh I couldn't tell you if I remember if they were good. I like because I think Jeff Johns did Aquaman, right? New 52.
Yes, he
So
did.
I
He
like
did
that
the
run.
majority of the beginning
Yeah.
of Aquaman. That's what the movie is heavily based on.
Yeah. Um, but I couldn't tell you the best character. I will say Red Hood has he doesn't have the great stuff, but he's had great elements. Like when he shot Penguin, when he was doing the like Dark Trinity, I really like that. I thought that was cool. He's had some cool moments, but Red Hood always goes too wacky. Like it always goes like, oh, now we're fucking falling through time, and there's this weird fucking monster that's killing me because I died once. Like it's just like, bro, what? Like it
Yeah.
doesn't need to be that zany for Red Hood. And I feel like a lot of we're gonna talk. I don't know if you read the Tim Drake book. Did you?
Fuck, I didn't. I
Okay,
didn't
we'll
think
talk
you were
about it.
going to read it. So
But
I was like,
so I
I was
read
like,
it.
Juice is not going to
It's a
read this.
number
I'm not going
one.
to
We
do
have to read the number ones, even if we have to read them after that. But the
it.
problem with a lot of the Bat family members is they always go too zany. It's
Yeah.
always too crazy because they're like, we need to make them stand out, and it's just
And
like, no, you don't.
that's the thing. I want to jump on that real quick because for Red Hood, for Tim Drake, for Dick Grayson's Nightwing, and even for Damien, like the thing is, they all have the same element of they were trained by fucking Batman.
Yeah,
And when people are like, "Oh, how is it so hard to write a Red Hood book?" He's street level,
yeah,
straight up street level. And I know that they went kind of out of control with Red Hood Outlaw. That's
yeah,
one title that we didn't necessarily love. That's when he had the Mortal Kombat mask, the actual hoodie, and everything else.
yeah,
But like, if you were trying, like, the stuff that we thought that um Tim Fox was going to fixate on in New
mhm,
York, that's a book I completely dropped off of. But when we thought he was going to do all street level stuff, bad cops, like drug lords and all that, you can do that stuff with the Bat family because I'm not going to say that stuff is too minimal for the Batman because the Batman
yeah,
will stop any crime. But in retrospective, if you think that any and all crime is happening all at the same time, Batman is going to take priority on big stuff like Penguin, Two Face, Joker,
yeah,
whatnot. You can write books with Nightwing, with Red Hood, with Tim Drake, getting the quote unquote smaller guys. And you
yeah,
don't have to go super crazy. Tim Drake doesn't need his own Joker. Red Hood doesn't need his own Penguin. Like, because they are in that town, they're in that city. And I would love to see them kind of tone back on the wackiness and go to the street level hard crime stuff.
yeah. I am trying to confirm something right now because I don't want to obviously break our embargo. But something happens in, I think it's I Am Batman 14, which is not out yet. So I want to just verify right now that it's something I want to talk about because it happens at the end of it. And I'm just all like,
Oh, so we're gonna have to go back to the book. Okay.
I skim through them because it's something that I'm just like, I want to see like Clay. Yeah, it happens on the next one. Let's
I
just
have
say
no
he.
problem going back to that book because honestly, when Juice jumped off, I was still reading it, and some of it is good. Like
Mhm.
Ridley has a good voice for Fox,
Yeah,
but it's just everything outside of Tim Fox. I guess DC is like, you need to make Gotham inside of New York. And
yeah.
it's just like, that's
Wow.
not what you need to do because you took him outside of Gotham. He needs
What
to
you could
be
have
in New York.
really like you could have had Tim in New York, like living like a New Yorker and just experiencing the New York life. You know what I mean? Like during the
Yes.
day. Like have him go to like I don't know if you want to have him do a normal job shit, but like they always fucking every time you hear about New York, you hear about pizza. You know, have him go get a slice of pizza, have him talk to people on the side, have him like listen to some jazz in the subway, have him be on the subway, maybe stop a fight in the subway. Like you could have him live like a New Yorker, but they don't do that.
Well, and not only that, because the thing about Batman is that he knows Gotham, right? He
Yeah,
knows the citizens of Gotham. He can relate to a lot of those things, other than the fact of being a billionaire and whatnot.
yeah,
And Tim Fox, he went to New York wanting, hey, I'm gonna fight crime somewhere else. Well, you need to know your city first. And I think
yeah,
that's what something that might be missing from I Am Batman
yeah,
is getting to know Tim Fox because I still don't think, and it may have changed in the last few issues, but I still don't know Tim Fox and what
no,
we've read. So I think that they need to kind of tone it back and
yeah.
us get to know him.
Well, the thing that happens in this next issue, I'll just say it's a conflict of identity that is very intriguing. That I think is at least a talking point. We don't necessarily need to review the whole thing, but it happens at the end, so it'll be interesting.
Nice.
So yeah,
Next
but I guess
question.
yeah, go
Oh,
for it.
go ahead.
No, I was
You,
just gonna say I don't really have anything for the rebirth stuff, but I think there was a lot of characters that I think had really good moments that I thought were cool.
Oh, I
So
didn't even answer that question. So I
yeah.
would say in New 52, one of my favorite titles was uh oh shit. Superman. I can't remember if it was Superman or Action. I think it
Mhm,
was. Oh, you know what? It was Action because Superman kind of went a little wonky to start off with, but
mhm,
it did have George Perez, so R.I.P. So Superman was really good in New 52, and then in Rebirth, um, I collected every single issue of Green Arrow. I absolutely loved it. There was one arc in there in particularly where he was kind of following this crime syndicate like all throughout the DC universe's America. And
mhm.
so like he went to every major city. So he teamed up with the Flash, he teamed up with Green Lantern, he teamed up with Batman, he teamed up with Superman, he teamed up with Wonder Woman. Like he went all the way around and it
Yeah.
was just really really cool. So I would recommend those two titles. And you say non Bat family.
Catwoman, that's mine.
Bat family. She's
Yeah.
Bat
Oh,
family.
maybe not at that time.
Dude, she fucks Batman in the first issue.
Yeah, but like if you fuck people, are they really part of your family? Like come on now, come on. It's 2022, all right. It's
I
2022.
was I was gonna say, I know we said non-Bat family, but
Yeah,
if you do Justice League, if you count Justice League because the majority is not Bat family,
yeah.
Justice League was actually really good. All the way
I
through.
think I read some of it. Yeah. Well, that's where it ends with three Jokers, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That run was pretty decent. Yeah. I had a lot of the Catwoman stuff too, which actually the Catwoman was just I like the way it was drawn. The stories were okay, but that's what I would go. I read a lot of that. All right, next one is Eduardo de la Cruz. What's up? Love the name. Would you rather get a Superman or Batman Beyond game, and why? I think we're gonna differ on this one, obviously. So
I'm not entirely sure. I was reading this while
really,
you were talking. Um, again, because we've mentioned this, like, I guess almost 3 episodes in a row now. There's always the rumor:
Mhm.
Superman game in development. Oh,
Oh
it's in
yeah.
development. Uh, and I would love it. I bought the game Superman Returns, the movie adaptation for
Mhm.
Xbox and PlayStation or whatever, and I loved it. It was so stupid, like, but the coolest thing you could do in that game was if you flew above the city and flew in a giant circle, you could hit Mach 6.
Yeah.
And it was so cool with the sound design because you would eventually just hear nothing hitting Mach 6. And that's
Nice.
exactly what happened in the game. And then when you stopped, all the sound eventually rushed back to you, which I thought was really, really cool. You could run up walls, you can crash into things, freeze everything. Um, Game was a little bit ahead of its time in the sense of like, if only Unreal Engine was like around then, it would be
Yeah.
fucking fantastic.
Have you seen the Superman mod for the Matrix?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
And I really want a Superman game.
Mhm.
But if you told me, hey, a legit Batman Beyond game
Mhm.
is coming out with the actual city aesthetic of a Neo year type of Gotham,
Yeah.
give me Batman Beyond.
He has to be skinny.
He has
Okay?
to be skinny. He can't be
Yes.
bulky like Batman. And you need freaking Eric Matthews to voice Batman Beyond again.
That'd be fantastic. I just
Will
because
Fredo, yeah.
a lot of people be like, "Oh, you can get the Batman suit, Batman Beyond suit in Arkham Knight or whatever."
It
That fucking
looks
sucks. It looks garbage.
it
He can't
does.
have muscles. He can't have muscles. It doesn't look good. And I hate the mouthpiece. The mouthpiece is the worst freaking thing. Every time they show the lips, like when did you watch G.I. Joe when you were little?
Yes.
Okay. Snake Eyes, when you show his lips, it looks fucking stupid. Snake Eyes should never like they did it in one of the movies, didn't they?
Yes,
He had
they
like
did.
lips. It was horrible. You don't do that to Snake Eyes. So you don't do that to Batman Beyond. He should just have a flat mouth, or you do the like digital white mouth when he's talking.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so if they were to do a Batman Beyond properly, because I feel like some of these movies or some of these games kind of bulk up the characters a little bit. Like I feel like Red Hood looks really bulky in Gotham Knights.
He
He looks
does.
fucking,
He
yeah,
looks
he's like
kind of
Brock
top
Lesnar.
heavy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so I'm just kind of like, I don't know. But yeah, I don't think so I don't know. If they were to do it properly, obviously I'd go Batman Beyond. The only reason why is like, dude, with a Superman game, you would have to let me feel like I'm in trouble at some point. You know what I mean? And that's the only thing that would worry me is like I'm flying around and you'd have to also let me they'd have to build shit into the game to where like if I want to run straight into a building, that Superman stops himself and he's like, "Whoa," you know what I mean? Like, because I'm gonna fuck around a lot, and so you're gonna have to really, really put in things. Like on Spider-Man, I always try to kill people and I'll throw people off buildings, but then they get stuck to the side of the thing, and I'm like, "That's
Yeah.
bullshit." And so, like, anybody that knows me, I love fucking with games. Like right now, I just found something in Red Dead. There's kids in it. And I'm just like,
Are you
"Ugh."
drowning them?
I'm trying to. I'm trying to blow it. Dude, I threw a stick of dynamite at one and he didn't die. And I'm just like, what?
Well,
And
because
so,
like
like,
I know that like the start of all of that was with Fallout 3.
uh-huh.
Was like, oh, you can't kill kids. This is a bad message that we're sending to individuals when we put
Yeah.
kids in video games, and you can kill them. But then I know that when Red Dead Redemption first came out, people were like, let's kill the kids. It's so
Yeah.
fucked up. But it's just like, hey, how much detail did you put into this game? And I
Yeah.
know that there was people who like have been trying to drown kids, that have like
Mhm.
dragged kids like along with their horse somehow and doing stuff like that. And like, what all have you done?
Oh, in this game? Like,
Yeah.
well, so I've only found the kid recently. I was going to do it on stream. I was like, all right, we're going to try to get this done, kid. Like, because he's in the new city. Like, he's in the big, big city in Red Dead, Saint Denis.
Yeah.
And he's near the dock. And he's not like a kid. He's not like a child.
Yeah.
He's like a 12-ish,
Yeah.
I would say. And like I shot at him, he couldn't do anything, and I threw dynamite, but he's quick. So I'm like, maybe the dynamite didn't get him. And I tried to lasso him, you couldn't lasso him. And so I was just like, oh, what the hell? So you have to like force them into the water, and I wasn't able to do that. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna have to try to reset, and then you get the cops on you, and I'm just like, fuck. I was like, these damn cops. I'm killing like hundreds of cops just trying to get this kid, and I'm just like, come on. And so like it's definitely wild. It might have. I don't know if you guys are watching this as a podcast. If you're watching the podcast on YouTube, that my first encounter with the kid might be on one of the podcasts if I'm playing Red Dead. Might be. So
That's
it's
awesome.
possible. But yeah, if you see me near the pier and just killing all these cops, then the kid is probably in that area. But yeah, I've just always loved trying to not break games, because I know there's a lot of people out there that love to try to break games, and I'm
Mhm.
not that a fan of that. I'm just trying to do the things the game necessarily doesn't want you to do. My biggest thing was back in the day, kids, before there was like internet and you had YouTube. Like if you wanted to watch video game stuff, you watched G4. Like if you had that channel, right?
Yes.
And there was this one channel with, I don't know the guy's name. He's really popular in the gaming scene, but he would be like, this week's glitches, or like this week's crazy things. Like there was a segment where they did something like really crazy. It was Attack of the Show, I think, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so they would do like crazy shit in GTA. And I was like, I always wanted to submit something. And I'm like, oh, what could I do? And everybody would always say, you can't get into the stadium on GTA. And I was like, I'm getting into this fucking stadium. Because this was before there was like flying ability. Like there was no planes or anything in GTA 3. So what I ended up doing was there was a cheat that lets your car bounce. And I was trying all these different cars. None of the cars would bounce high enough. But what I ended up doing was I got a bus. And if you hit the stairs at the right angle and you hit the bounce button, you will go high enough to hit the top of the stadium, and you can get out of the bus quick enough. You get into the stadium and you can walk all the way down to the field, and then you just disappear into like hell. And I was like, yeah, I fucking did it. But
That's
of course I was
awesome.
poor and I didn't know how to record it. So I couldn't send it in. But that was always like one of my cool moments, and just doing shit like that. Um, so yeah, if they made a Superman game, there would have to be so many things in there for me to be like believable, that like I can't just destroy buildings and like throw people into the sun and stuff. Which is why I absolutely did. You ever play? Oh my god, it was a game that was like, oh my god, like you were turning into Venom essentially. Do you remember this
Oh,
game?
Prototype.
Prototype, yes. I love Prototype because
Just
you can grab
destroying
people. Yes.
everybody on the
You
streets.
can grab people, run up to buildings, jump as high as you can, and chunk them. I
Yes.
love it, dude. My favorite things in games is being able to throw people off stuff. That is my favorite. That's why I love Assassin's Creed, because you
Yeah.
can Sparta kick everybody. I Sparta kick everybody off everything. I love it. So Prototype, I remember they remastered it, and then I bought it, but I haven't played it. But I just want to grab people and throw them again.
I wanna I wanna buy the remastered eventually. That game was so dude, I rented that game when it first came out, and
Yeah,
I legit stayed up for like 3 days straight just
yeah.
playing that game
It was
over and over and over
fantastic.
again.
Yeah, it was cool. Like that was the Venom game you wanted that you were never gonna get. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So I thought that was cool. Anyways, we spent enough time on that question. Let's see. We got one from Raphael next. Is there any artist whose art is not seen so much lately that you would like him, her, them to draw more often? To clarify, just in case, Clay, you can't say Dan Mora. I'm glad that they finally called you out on something. 'Cause I'm always the one, you can't take Tom King or you can't be Batcat. It's
So,
always something.
I will go ahead and say, um, I would love to see more of this artist called John Boy Myers.
Mhm.
He has done a lot of covers recently, but he on Teen Titans Rebirth, he did like the first 3 or 4 issues, and then he got kicked off, unfortunately. But his art is awesome. It really pops. He does a lot of like almost anime-ish style whenever it comes to his character designs.
Yeah.
So I would really love him to be on more stuff. Um, or um, oh shoot, who was it that we bought the artist proofs from? Um,
Oh, He just did Killing Time.
Yes.
Dan Cortez, something like that. It sounds that's in that realm.
Um,
Um, yeah, I forget his fucking name. He was on Killing Time though. It's Dan something, isn't it?
I don't think it's
David.
Dan.
Is it David? Pretty sure it starts with a D. I could be wrong.
Uh,
While you look it up, what is it?
David.
Cortez, isn't it?
No, Marquez.
Marquez. That was close.
Yeah,
Yeah,
David
Marquez is
Marquez.
dope. Yeah, he's fucking dope. I would say, has he? I asked him a while back when he was putting up the proofs for episode or for issues 4 through 6. I don't know if he ever did that because I was thinking about pulling the trigger on one.
I
Um,
am looking it up right
but
now.
and he said he was like, oh, they'll be up in a week, and it was he fucking lied to me. But anyways, I will say somebody I recently checked out again. I bought this book a long time ago, but Eduardo Rizzo, I think is how you say his last name. He does like a very gritty style of art. It reminded me of Tim Sale, but it's not Tim Sale style. But Eduardo Rizzo is really badass. He's worked with Brian Azzarello before on some Batman books. And I was reading that recently and I was like, oh man, I fucking love this book. I forgot about it. And I was checking it out recently and I would like to see more of that art. In comics because it's like a gritty type of Batman, and if you have the right style, I think it works really well.
So
So
I'm looking at his artist proofs right now. He has a lot of really cool Killing Time stuff.
yeah, yeah, I've
Um,
seen I've seen issues 1 through 4, I think, or 1 through 3.
well, number 6 is out.
Oh, okay, I have to go check them
Yeah.
out.
They're all either 175, 275, $300.
Yeah, he has some really good Catwoman ones that hadn't been sold yet. They're a little bit pricier, but they were pretty badass.
So there's a Riddler, Catwoman, Batman one,
Yeah,
with Batman looking really fucking cool. It's Killing Time number 6, page 21. It's $300. Has not been sold yet.
yeah, pretty crazy stuff. But yeah, I would definitely say those are my picks for sure. So
Now
yo,
the next question comes from Nathan Carbajal. How would you upgrade / make Victor Zaz a better threat like the other rogues? So how would you put him in the same category as Penguin, Joker, Riddler, and Two Face?
so he would need to have his own arc for sure. So like a mini series, kind of like King just did with Clock King. Not that intricate. I don't think it needs to be that intricate, but I think you need to have a bunch of murders where you kind of you. The thing is, what you really need to do with Zaz is kind of what King did with Bane, and everybody's like, "Oh, you're sucking off King." But like with these kind of characters, you need to transform them in a way, right? Like King took Bane and he was like, Bane is smart. He's not just a brute that's like, I am Bane. You know what I mean? Like he can be a mastermind, like a Riddler, like a freaking Joker, like anybody else, right? So you need to do that with Zaz. And some people have been able to do this with other characters. But Zaz, you would need to show that he's not just a psycho that kills people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like maybe there's a bunch of mystery murders happening in Gotham. Batman's trying to figure out how it is, or who it is, and he can't. And this is just Zaz like adding on to his body. You know what I mean? Just adding on the marks, and he's killing all these people in different ways that are not his signature way.
Now, I was gonna say I need to go and read a little bit more on Zaz because I'm pretty sure he does have like a particular way he murders people.
Yeah.
Um, and I would say, um, I don't think they'll do it now because I'm saying it out loud. But if you've ever seen the movie Split,
Mm-hmm.
uh, make it like that. Not personal, not multiple personality disorder like in that movie, but make a arc with Zaz that is very suspenseful, very horror esque, and make it intriguing for the character of Zaz.
Yeah.
To make him seem as crazy as the Joker. Of course, I don't think anybody could be, but like in that mind,
Oh,
like
sorry. Go for it.
Well, just in that mindset of like, oh, because right now I would say Zaz is a tier below or a tier above somebody like Anarchy, which is like nothing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's definitely D list, for
Yeah.
sure. But you need to just it's the thing is, and this is why we constantly talk about it, and if you just heard me gasp a little while ago, I read that new Joker book. It fucking sucks.
The new Joker book.
The one that Rosenberg is writing?
Oh no.
Yeah, it fucking sucks.
Is it out next month? Or has it already come out?
Week or so, I think. It definitely comes out next month because this is the last week of the month.
Oh, true.
So, yeah.
Uh oh
Obviously, I can't
no,
say anything about it. I
Rosenberg.
can just say my opinion on it. When you read it, you're gonna be like, "Really?"
Damn it,
You'll see
Rosenberg.
it. Yeah, it's not. It sucks because we love him. And he's done some good shit. He's doing some good shit, but I don't like the Joker, and this is why people need to get away from writing Joker and writing Riddler and writing all of these other people. Unless you're doing One Bad Day, I think One Bad Days have been good so far,
Yeah.
but those are one shots. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But if you need to start focusing on the Zazzes of the world, Professor Pig, freaking Scarface, like focus on those characters, make them badass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like, dude, it's gonna be if you're coming into DC Comics as a writer and you're like, I'm gonna write the Joker story everybody's gonna remember. That is a tall fucking tale. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like, really, you're not gonna beat out the Killing Joke. I'm sorry. Like, Alan Moore is always gonna be the top of the top. And whether you think the Killing Joke is a good story or not, it has the most popularity. And you're not gonna beat that. You know what I mean? Because even the day Alan Moore dies and they start writing headlines about him, it's gonna be like the author that wrote the Killing Joke. You know what I mean? That's what's
Yeah.
gonna be the Killing Joke and Watchmen is what he's gonna be tied to. And so, like, you're not going to be bigger than that. And I think that's why it's smart when other people come out and they try to write other characters. And I think that's just something people need to really start doing. And if you want to elevate a Zaz or anybody else, go for it. And that's why I think those one shots that we read in like Urban Legends and all those are so fun because of you guys hear us on the podcast always bring up the Killing Moth story. Like that story was awesome. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind a series like of that because it's cool, it's different, it's nice. Even if it was like a backup, just that writer and a backup of Batman, like I think that's what you should probably use the backups for, not necessarily to pimp out like, oh yeah, I'm writing Catwoman and Catwoman's going to be in my story in the future. Like no, just elevate other characters that nobody cares about. You know what I mean? And just put them in the back of Batman books just as an extra thing. And then at the end of it be like, title it the, Batman backups. Like that's all you need to title it. And then it's just all of these stories of these characters. Because I don't know, man. I mean, there's so many good characters out there that nobody fucks with. That's why I appreciate like writers that do the big events that stay in Gotham that do include like the Scarface and all of that. Like, I'm forgetting the event. Like, it's not No Man's Land, but it was what kicked off like the big event that ends up getting Stephanie Brown killed because like there's a
Cataclysm?
big. Yeah, is it Cataclysm? I don't know. I'm feel like I'm throwing it. No, it's War Games. It's not War Games. It's Warzone. Yeah, War Games.
Yeah.
War Games, which is WWE trademark. But Batman War Games starts off, if I'm not mistaken, with all of the big villains.
Okay, real quick, side
Uh,
note, because I saw your tweet. Are you going to Royal Rumble?
yeah, I'm going to Royal Rumble. Hell yeah.
Motherfucker, I saw you're like, see you
Yeah.
there. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that bastard.
I told my brother, like, dude, I was willing to drop a G on Royal Rumble, but I didn't, luckily. We ended up getting like under $400 tickets, like a little bit under $400 tickets, and we're like, we should be able to see. Here's the thing that sucks about wrestling, man. Getting a floor seat is not good unless you're in the first 3 rows. So like the farther
I
you're
could
back on
imagine.
the
Yeah.
floor, it's fucking terrible.
Yeah.
I've heard that they like somebody suggested they should elevate the ring a little bit, like and the platform around the ring, so everybody can kind of see it because it looks kind of like I guess that's what they do with UFC. I guess it's
Yeah.
higher, right? They should do that with wrestling. So everybody that's on the floor could actually see. So if you're not in the first 3 rows or so, it's better to buy the farther away seats.
Yeah.
And so we're like probably like 2 or 3 sections away from the ramp, like where they're going to be coming out. And so it's pretty crazy. My brother looked at like the 2 perfect seats. I guess they're called like the golden seats of whatever. It's where the ramp curves, like the entrance
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
curve, so you can see the ring directly straight, but you also see everybody coming out. Those seats, the 2 that are like in the perfect straight view, $4,000 each.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's why they're like the golden seats. It's a dream of mine to sit front row at an event. It doesn't need to be wrestling, but I want to sit front row at an event. But wrestling would just be so fun. I could imagine being
Yeah.
front row, but it's thousands of dollars. So,
Fuck.
yeah, it's pretty crazy. But yeah, I'm going to Royal Rumble. Well, I went right before the pandemic in Houston. So,
That's right. That's right. I
like
remember that.
literally right before the pandemic. I think the pandemic started like 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
So it was like pretty crazy. But yeah, it's pretty nuts. So I'll be going there. But yeah, man, I think to answer that question for Zaz, you need to give him a good story. And I don't think anybody does that. I think everybody just treats him as a D-list thug that kills people, you know?
It's very unfortunate because you see Zaz, you're like, oh man, we haven't seen him forever. And then like the very next panel, he's getting knocked out and Batman's already throwing him in Arkham. Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
usually what happens.
But it's also because they made him that way. He's just a guy that kills and adds a mark to his skin. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know what would be interesting? Tell the story where he's killed enough that he can't add any more marks. Like it's hard to tell. What does he do then? You know? Like what if he
he
like
goes
started
into a
burning
murderous
his
ramp.
skin?
He went into
Like
like
what
a murderous rampage. It's like,
Yeah.
fuck, what do I do now?
Yeah. Because it's all over his head and stuff now.
Yeah.
So like I wonder what he would do if he was running out of room. You know what I mean? Because eventually you would, if he killed enough, which when you really think about it, that's a lot of people he's killed if he's marking up his whole body.
I
You know what
got
I
an
mean?
idea, but I don't want to say it out loud. I'll share
Yeah.
it with you after we get off of here.
Yeah.
Next question, though, is from Jason Todd. What comic writer would you like / trust to do a great Batman run?
New, dude, that's really hard, man, because I'll go Azarello. That's who I'll go with. Because we've already kind of seen a lot of the people that I kind of want to see recently.
Yeah.
So I would go Azarello, and I'll tell you, because are we covering Detective today? Is
Yes,
that
we
one of the
are.
books? Ramby's failing me. I'll say that.
Yes, he
You know?
is. We'll talk about it when we get to the comics.
Yeah.
I would go 2 writers here. So I actually need to remember his name. Over on well, I guess he hasn't done anything with Marvel in a while, but
I hadn't
Nick
read anything in Marvel in years.
Nick Spencer. He did almost 100 issues on Spider-Man, and
Mhm.
it was really really fun. Got really really wacky near the end, and he had like this new character that from issue 1 all the way to like issue 90 you did not know the identity of until the last arc. And it was kind of annoying going back and forth, but when it really started to like hit the ground running at the end, it was
Yeah.
really really good. So I would say Nick Spencer over at Marvel, or just had his last issue of Power Rangers, Ryan Parrott. Um, I always said he would do like a great Green Arrow run, but I mean, opposite of Green Arrow is Batman. So I think he would do a great Batman run.
Yeah, I would go with Azarello. I know because I don't know if Azarello. I mean, somebody can correct me in the comments. I don't know if he's been on the main Batman title. Like he's done a lot of Batman, but I don't know if he's been on the main Batman title.
I don't think so.
So I would definitely go with Azarello for my pick for sure. And is that we had a lot of comments on that?
Well, Moncry has his own question. Have you guys thought of registering to become exhibitors at a local comic convention? I think that would be dope.
I don't think our fan base is big enough, but I mean, it would be cool.
Well, Clay says, bro, I just imagine a cool logo banner with merch and Clay and Juice and costumes. I would totally stop there.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to, like, you know, if we ever both went to like Comic-Con or something like that and we would just like let it be known. Because I go to Comic Con well, I was going. I didn't go this year, but I'll be going again next year. And like I go to Comic Con, so I always talk to people if you see me around. But I mean that would be cool. But I think the audience would definitely need to grow a lot more. But yeah, I mean that would be dope. But it's also those things are expensive, man. They're not cheap to get a booth.
No, they are not.
So it would definitely need to be something that's pretty big.
Well, yes, they are. Sorry, I don't know. Say no, they are not. No, I'm
Yeah,
just saying like they are not like cheap whatsoever.
yeah, it made sense. It made sense.
So I think it would be fun because I've seen a lot of podcasters have like group meetups and whatnot.
Yeah,
If we go to because I know that I have been always been interested in going to Comic Con and trying to scrounge up some stuff. Unfortunately, it hasn't really worked out in the last few years, but there's always hope. So if we ever go to any place big, we could always try to make it happen.
yeah. We could easily just tweet out, be like, "Hey guys, we're actually meeting up at this spot on this day, and if you guys want to come say hi, talk, we can do that." So it's all good. Comic Con's huge, so you could actually meet up in a lot of places. So it's a cool day. I'm also speaking about San Diego Comic Con. I'm not speaking about anything else because I haven't been to a lot of other ones. So, but yeah, I think that is everything, if I'm not mistaken, for YouTube.
For YouTube, yeah.
Yeah. And then over on the Discord, we have Drew saying, "Have you read Batman TMNT? Have you seen the movie? Thoughts?" I've read the first series. That's all
I've
tiny, if I'm not
I've read
mistaken.
the third series. I didn't read the first one or the
Or
second
the
one.
wackier one? Doesn't it get wackier?
Yeah, so in the third one, it's like the original TMNT, like black and white TMNT,
Yeah.
with like blue suit Batman. So it's crazy because it's like almost like a Crisis on Infinite Earths kind of tie-in. You could legitimately like throw it into Crisis on Infinite Earths and it would kind of
Yeah.
make sense just because like multiverse and whatnot. Um, that one was pretty wacky, and I did see the animated movie. I don't know if you did, Juice.
I don't
Um,
think I did.
it is a fun little, movie. Um, there's like a weird, like I can't remember what exactly happens. I would need to watch it again. But like it does have like almost that Scooby Doo ending where they're all like, "Oh, we're all eating pizza. All right," Um,
Oh, okay.
and it's fun. I really enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it's like top 5 of all Batman animated movies, but it's a good time.
Nice, nice. Yeah, no, I don't. I honestly, I couldn't tell you. I don't remember a lot about the TMNT story that I read. I remember, of course, they show up in Gotham. Batman's questioning like who the hell they are. I think there's like a fight at the start. Like, I don't remember a lot of it, but I own it.
I
Uh,
do remember a lot of people talking about I can't remember if it was TMNT 1 or TMNT 2 crossover, but at one point Shredder brought the ooze and started like mutating all of Batman's villains. Um was one of
yeah,
the stories, which I would
yes,
not have a problem with like going and finding that and reading it because that sounds pretty cool. Almost like TMNT 2, like Secret of the Ooze. Uh, but yeah, I wouldn't mind trying to find that one.
yeah. I'm looking this whole time. If you guys heard me scrolling, I was trying to get to the David Marquez stuff because I couldn't find his Twitter, and I was like, I know Tom King tweets at him. So I had to fucking find it forever. But I'm on the artist proofs. They're pretty insane. God, some of these are so fucking great. There's just one of Catwoman on a couch that I kind of want to buy. I'm always looking for sexy Catwoman proofs, man. Because like I have that Batman one. Looks good. It has the
Yeah.
fucking crown and shit in it, so I really like it. But we'll see. But yeah, I don't know. So I'll look at these later. But yeah, I can't really remember a lot of the TMNT stuff. But what else do we got? We have King saying, with confirmed season 2 of Peacemaker, what do you think it'll be about? We've kind of talked about this before, I think,
We've
but it's
kind
been
of
a while.
talked about speculation in the sense of like, and it's really hard to think of now because there's the rumor of the Amanda Waller show
Yeah.
and that kind of tying into Peacemaker and the aftermath of that. So how much they would keep that for a Peacemaker season 2, we're not entirely sure. But I think it will have some ramifications for what happened in season 1 of Peacemaker. But I also think um, they're going to dive deep into the psyche of Peacemaker because of what happened to his dad.
Yeah, I could also see, do we get a tease at Justice League? You know? They showed him at the end. Do we maybe one of them show up? I think Harley shows up in season 2. I'm going to call that.
I could see it happening.
Yeah.
I still think that there is a uh oh shoot, I can never remember these two's name. Not Deadshot. Um Bloodsport. Bloodsport
Yeah.
and Peacemaker rematch. I think it's gonna
Yeah.
happen season 2.
Yeah, that could be pretty cool. So yeah, there's a lot. I don't know. It would be cool if there. I want him to tie into one of the movies though. Like we were rumored, we were thinking about the Blue Beetle stuff. Like that was one of the original rumors we were thinking about. I wouldn't mind tying into Blue Beetle somehow.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool. But for the most part, man, at this point, I'm just excited for what happens because that show was surprisingly good. I remember at the first, Clay was like, "I don't know, man, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it." And then I was
Like
like,
the humor wasn't getting me into the very fucking end when that woman just fucking exploded at the end. I was like,
"Yeah,
"Oh shit."
yeah, I fucking loved it. I think it was great." So, and then just like it was serious when it needed to be, but funny when it needed to be. And that's what it should be. And I know a lot of people hated fucking what's his name, the best friend. Um,
Oh yeah,
what is
Vigilante.
his name? Vigilante. I loved Vigilante. I thought he was fantastic. So I'm excited to see him again. And yeah, man, I don't know. I'm just excited for the whole show. And I want to see how it branches out, man, because I'm very curious about. You would think like Zaslav would be like, oh, why don't I just go to James Gunn? He worked in the MCU. And if he doesn't want, if James Gunn's like, I don't want that job, then be like, is there somebody you would trust with this job? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why he doesn't do that because like James Gunn has shown he's like, oh yeah, I'm fucking solid. Why don't you just get somebody that works with James Gunn closely to do the DCEU shit? You know?
Yeah.
Because then that just helps James Gunn in the long run. Because James Gunn could be like, hey, I want to do this, and I'll tie it in like this, and then they'll probably be like, all right, fuck it, go for it. You know? But we'll see what happens. I mean, luckily, that show is saved and it's gonna come around again. But I don't know. I don't really know what to expect, but I'm excited. And then Ethan with a monstrous question. Do you guys appreciate that we have articles of Michael Keaton being in future projects are Ben Affleck returning, or do you prefer they keep it a secret until the movie comes out so that you can actually be surprised when you see the film? It's not only with DC, like I'm talking about Marvel teasing Daredevil and She-Hulk, or all those leaks for No Way Home, and now we have news of Wolverine returning as the actor coming back as well. Yes and no. I think the Wolverine return is fantastic.
Yes, because I do think you need the hook, right?
Yeah.
And I think people like Juice being hesitant to come back to anything Marvel related, um, especially something like Deadpool
Yeah.
being attached with Disney, family Disney. How are you gonna get Juice back into that theater seat? Oh, well, bring back Hugh fucking Jackman as Wolverine,
Yeah.
and not only that, confirm that he's gonna be wearing a comic book accurate suit. Like that is something that you need as like a oh shit. Everything else could be kept a secret. Everything else, you like for me, I just know that Hugh Jackman's back. I don't need to see anything other than probably the first trailer,
Yeah.
right? Now, as far as Keaton, Ben Affleck, possibility of Henry Cavill coming back and everything else. I understand the idea of wanting these things to be kept secret. But Ethan, here's another thing for you. For Juice and I, and a lot of my friends that are in this circle of podcasting and giving out the news to our listeners and whatnot, we have to stay in these circles in order to keep everybody informed and entertained.
Yeah, I
Now,
prefer not to.
and
What we talk about.
Ethan, exactly. And so, Ethan, I could say limit some of the things that you're looking at, whether it be muting words on Twitter or Instagram. I don't know if you can mute words on Instagram or whatnot. Um, but
Yeah, I don't know.
just in that aspect of things, lay back on some stuff. Um, for me, news I haven't really broke it to everybody, but I did talk to my other podcast. I'm not doing the DC show anymore. My host basically didn't want me coming back because I was too negative.
Yes.
Um,
Batman News Weekly, still the top DC. I think we were beating their ass, though, weren't we? You wise.
yeah, for sure.
I
Uh,
checked recently, between YouTube and our downloads, we get about 400 plus. So not bad, not
Not
bad.
bad at all.
Yeah.
Um, but ever since kind of just like letting that show go, I haven't seen a lot of DC stuff. Now, of course, I still subscribe to things like Variety and Deadline on Twitter. So if there's big DC news there, it automatically hits me, and so I see it. But I do agree. There needs to be like big cameo secrets in order to make me go like, "Oh shit, that was fucking awesome." Like um Ethan, unfortunately, I might spoil something for you, but there has been older news that is becoming resurfaced because apparently some people didn't know about this, and I'm still very hesitant on it. We kind of reported on it back when it was shown, but people are still saying that Henry is showing up in Flash,
Hmm.
and that there was an article months ago from Deadline saying that Henry had actually gotten into a contract with multiple movies, Black Adam being one of them, Flash being another, and whatnot, continuing on to this like, oh, he's coming back Superman full time. Still very hesitant on that. I don't think it's true. But like for me, somebody who is skeptical on that, it's still gonna be a huge surprise when I see him show up in the Flash, right? It'd be like, oh shit, I didn't think that was true. He's there. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Um and there's still stuff that they are able to kind of keep a secret because they don't even let freaking trades and stuff and reporters really know information. You
Yeah.
get some stuff, but again, because of the way pop culture is and the news spreads, it's harder to keep that stuff secret.
Yeah, the internet's kind of ruined that. And it's also like, until it's also kind of hard to track down people that leak stuff, right? Like, the only way you could keep people from leaking stuff is like everybody that works on the movie signs an NDA, anybody that comes near the movie signs an NDA, and if people release it, then you sue them to oblivion, right?
Yeah.
And you would have to put the fear into people to not talk about it. But it's kind of like, I don't know. I feel like movies might be a little different than, let's say, a video game. Whereas video games let people play them online, right? So, like, you can watch somebody play a video game and spoil the whole fucking thing for you. But if you're playing something like GTA, you might get the story spoiled for you, but GTA just still looks fun as fuck. And you'll probably buy the game. And it has probably been the best thing for the gaming industry, which is live streaming, to let people actually play this. Because a lot of people that weren't going to buy the game weren't going to buy it anyways, but they might get interested in to buy the next one or something like that.
Yeah.
With movies, I think spoilers can hurt or help it. You know what I mean? Like, if you hear there's like a rumor of, like, let's say Wolverine was going to be in, like, let's say multiverses, right? People might be like, oh, fuck, let's go check it out, right? But at the same time, some people might be like, that's fucking dumb, you know? And then they're like, I'm not going to go watch it. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It depends on how it works. I think the shelf life of a movie is a lot shorter. So some people can just wait for it to come out on DVD or whatever. You know, they're not going to go watch it in theaters, or they're just going to wait for it to show up on a streaming service because
Yeah.
they don't, or they do, or they don't like it. But I do think a lot of movies are sold by the trailer and the marketing.
Yeah.
And video games, not so much. I think video games, people, I don't know. I've bought games because I've seen them on live streams, and I've bought games because I saw the trailer. Like, it's really different. You can't really do that for movies, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I just think it depends. The way you keep secrets is you don't talk about certain shit, and you hold a lot of stuff like behind doors. Like, we didn't hear about the end game fucking final battle shit. Like, that was epic.
Yeah,
You know?
and one thing they didn't have it back then, but they do have it now, and they use it a little too much, and they should use it specifically only for secret cameos. Is
Mhm,
what Disney has dubbed, of course, the volume, which is
mhm,
like the round indoor filming studio that they
yeah,
can just like film indoor stuff and have like a stretched out background to make it look like they are on location. Um, and I've always said, like, film movies regularly, but if there is a secret cameo that you want to keep secret, film it in a volume like that. So that way everything can stay in closed doors. Like
yeah,
uh you can have actors like fly over there, stay in their hotel until like the exact time that you need to, like keep people in hoodies and sunglasses and hats and whatnot, keep them away from prying eyes until you get into that small little space in full costume, and then boom.
yeah, yeah. I agree. But yeah, I mean, I think the only thing that ever ruins a really thing for me is when the trailer shows something it shouldn't. Like I always bring up Doomsday. I didn't need to see Doomsday. You know, movie was called Batman v Superman. I just needed to see Batman fighting Superman. I'm like, all right, cool. And then if I would have went to the theaters and Doomsday would have showed up, I would have been like, oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it would have been epic. But I saw it early and I was like, And the thing that sucks too is when you do stuff like that, Doomsday wasn't fully formed, so everybody's like, oh, he's a fucking Ninja Turtle and all this shit. You know what I mean? And like by
I
the
remember
end of
that.
the book, I mean by the end of the movie, like he looked badass, you know,
Yeah.
because he was growing. And yeah, I think they just need to do the marketing different. I think it all comes down to marketing at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I think that is the last question, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, it is.
All right, finally, let's move on to comic books, ladies and gentlemen. So we had, I guess, let's just start with Tim Drake because Clay didn't read that one. So here's the thing, man. This book, I didn't really care for it too much. Um, just because the art is so wonky. You know what I mean? We've talked about this artist before, which I believe this is Fitz Martin, or is that the writer? I think Fitz Martin might be the writer,
Yeah,
right?
that's the writer. You're
Rosmo?
uh, Riley Rosmo is
Yeah.
the artist.
So this is very like Batman's been a part of these. This writer's been on a lot of like the more spooky Batman books, like when Dead Man shows up, or I believe they also did the crossover for Batman and
The Monster Man.
not necessarily that one, but it was Batman and the Signal or the no, not the Signal.
Yes, yes, that was yeah.
Is it
Batman. Oh no, no, that's it. Spirit. Batman and Spirit.
Spirit? There you go. That's what I was talking about. It's a crossover between
No, no, no,
companies.
sorry, not Spirit. Shadow. The Shadow.
Yeah, but he also did a Spirit book, didn't he?
He might have done
Batman's
a
crossed
Spirit
over
book.
with a lot of people lately. I want
Yeah,
to see Batman crossover with Dick Tracy.
that
That's
would
what I
be
really
great.
want to see. Um,
And I'm pretty
but
sure Riley
anyway,
Rosmo has done a Dick Tracy book.
probably. So there's this new thing. I haven't been keeping up with all of the other Bat family members, so I didn't understand what was going on here. This might be because of, you know, Drake becoming bisexual now or having a boyfriend, but he's moved out of his parents' house. I guess I don't understand this because again, I guess we don't know if his parents are alive or dead right now. But he's moved away and he's decided to move to Gotham Marina, that is like apparently run down and really shitty, and he lives on a boat. So he's living on a boat. And here's the one thing with this drawing: if you're not reading, if you haven't been reading Tim Drake, when you look at these first few things, and I know, you know, if you want to be political police or whatever, you're gonna be like, oh, how somebody looks shouldn't matter. I thought the boyfriend was a girl in these drawings at first because it's like short hair, like kind of like the pixie cut, kind of.
Oh
And
yeah, I
I
can
was
see
just
that.
all like, I was like, is that the boyfriend? And so I
Well,
thought it was a chick at first,
he
and like
has he
very
has
feminine
red
qualities.
hair. He has red hair here, but I'm pretty sure when he was introduced in the Urban Legends book, he had blonde hair.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. So that was something, but it's not a big thing. I just thought like the it's the art, right? The art always makes things very, very different. And so I thought it was a chick at first, but then I was like, oh no, it's the boyfriend because you start hearing he calls him Bernard and all this kind of shit. And they just start having conversations. And then there's these like two women that show up, and essentially this book is just kind of showing you the marina and like the new setting of what's going to be happening, right? And there's these two ladies who they really go out of their way to try to be like they're progressive and they have trans flags on their boats and all this kind of stuff. So it's that kind of vibe. So this book is definitely geared towards the LGBT community, which is fine. It's totally good. But like they throw a lot of that in this book. And then you start hearing a lot about just kind of stuff going on in the marina. There's like this 2-page spread of like how shitty the marina looks.
Yeah.
And so there's that. And then we get a cameo from Darcy, who was one of the We Are Robin people. And I believe she talks with her hand signs or whatever. Like she does a lot of that. And so I thought that was kind of cool, bringing in some We Are Robin people. And what ends up happening is they're chatting on the boat, and then a murder happens. And it's the two women we saw earlier that were the progressive people. So they killed these two progressive people, cut off their heads and shit. And Tim Drake's like, it's a murder. Then it gets really weird because there's a detective here that's working with Drake. And I got to find this dialogue. Because I was just like, are you serious? Where is it at? Oh, the dialogue on this one page, because Tim Drake shows up in his Robin outfit. Darcy's known as Sparrow, which I think is kind of weird because
Hmm.
isn't Sparrow? I'm thinking maybe I might be getting confused with Blue Jay, but I thought Sparrow was already used as a name.
I feel like it was.
So I believe her name is Sparrow now, and they're talking to this detective who everybody in this book was hella skinny and tall. It looks like, but this detective says, absolutely not. I'm not your fairy gay father. And I was just like, okay. And I don't look, I'm not part of the community. I don't know if that's a term or a thing that a lot of people say.
Well, what's the
So,
context of okay, so this is Tim Drake's dialogue. It says, I don't exactly trust your fellow officers on this beat. The marina folk have some shady stories about your friends. Figured I'd call someone who'd get the job done, someone I know I can work with.
yeah.
But
And then I'm not,
they're not really discussing anything in regards to like how like I understand like you can make the assumption, well, this is a very progressive area,
yeah,
so we would need a uh somebody who supports the LGBTQ plus
for sure.
community. You can
Yeah.
make that assumption, but with no context in that conversation, that just like sounds very uncalled for.
Yeah, I was a little like it threw me off. And I don't know, does this detective know that Tim Drake is or that Robin is Tim Drake and that he's gay? Or is it just something that is said? Like so again, I just think this might be a book that is not I'm not the target demographic, you know what I mean? So there might be lingo in here that I just don't understand. And that's kind of how I read it. But I thought that was kind of jarring, you know what I mean? But I
It
was like,
sounds
okay.
jarring.
I feel like I don't know the writer of this book. I don't know their preferences or whatever, but I just don't think that's something that would fly with a straight writer.
So I went ahead and typed
Uh-huh.
in Twitter because I needed the reaction of readers.
Uh-huh.
So I typed in Robin Fairy Gay Father.
Yeah.
These are some of the responses. The only bad thing about Tim Drake Robin issue was the fairy gay father line.
Okay.
Um, looks like someone tried to draw Lupin the Third as Robin, and
Yeah, it definitely looks like that.
who or what is a fairy gay father?
And are these like progressive Twitter peeps?
There's literally only two individuals that have
Uh-huh.
commented on it.
Okay.
One looks like a uh so this individual says Batgirl. So I'm looking their bios.
Okay.
Somebody who is very much a Bat Family fan, and one looks like
So they're not
uh
overtly like part of the community. Doesn't seem
no,
like.
and then this one is a writer, wrestling, and political commentator.
Huh. Yeah, it was just very weird. So again, I feel like this book isn't geared toward. I think it's geared towards a particular audience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
and that's fine. That's totally fine. I just don't. There was just some things in here I was like, okay, like, is that okay? Like, you know what I mean? And that's when you get into those weird demographics of like only certain groups can say certain things. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, I've never been a fan of that. So I just feel like that would catch some heat. If this, I don't know, again, I don't know if this writer is straight or part of the community or whatever, but I just feel like that was a really weird thing to say. And
So I actually, instead of I took Robin out of the search and just write
uh-huh.
in Gary fairy gay father. Um, let's see here. Detective Williams fairy gay father, best line ever. The fairy gay father thing is growing on me. I'm afraid to admit it.
Okay.
I don't know if I care that much that his mentor is a detective, but having him say shit like fairy gay father is so funny, not in a good way. Um,
Huh.
I'm
So yeah, is
so
does the
confused by
detective know
people's.
that Robin's gay? Like, it's just, see, this is one of these things when things don't happen in the main Batman title, I usually say they're not canon in my brain. Obviously, everybody can say everything's canon because it's, some people only read the Bat family books and not Batman. But I just feel like if it doesn't happen in main titles, it's something that can easily be washed away, is how I see it. You know what I mean? Um, and that's why I've always been adamant of I want to write the main Batman title, not like detective. You know what I mean? Because I feel like some people even push detective to the wayside. But yeah, I don't know, man. I thought it was just really confusing. But here's what I was talking about earlier. The Bat family always fights weird and wacky stuff. And it turns out that the people that got killed were murdered by a gorilla that is made with lights and stuff.
What?
Yeah, yeah. So apparently there's these little devices that I guess can get thrown around and objects can come out of them and turn into things. And this gorilla is what killed people. And Tim Drake finds this little disc, he breaks it, but there's a hidden thing here that I want to say could probably really add to the story where Drake actually used his detective skills. And apparently, this whole concept was tied to an Edgar Allan Poe story, this whole gorilla thing or whatever. And at the end of this Edgar Allan Poe story, the I guess the ape wanted to seem like he was human or he felt like he was human. So Drake gives him a razor blade, which is, of course, we know men from that era would use razor blades to shave and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And the ape is happy. And that is how this whole conflict gets resolved, by giving the ape a razor blade. So he essentially gave this killing monster a weapon.
Jesus Christ.
Um, so yeah, it's weird and wacky, and I'm just like, I don't care to read this going forward because, again, I said, like, it doesn't feel like I'm the right audience for it. But at the same time, it's not even that, like, because I don't have a problem like reading books that are meant for like the LGBT community or anything like that. It's just the art. The art is the most jarring thing in this for me, and I've dropped plenty of books because of bad art before. And so, like, I don't know. I will look and skim through the next issue because it does seem like, oh, Tim Drake does get left a message at the end of this. It's like a box, and it says, "Clever work today. Until next time, Gumshoe." So I don't know who Gumshoe is. I don't know what that's all about. But yeah, so Tim Drake is now living at a marina, on a houseboat, because he's trying to find himself, which that's a good story. I think that's a good story. And we don't really learn a lot about Gotham Marina and other parts, so I kind of like that as well. But I don't really know. Like, it just feels really weird. Like, all the kids are finding themselves in books right now, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's the same story, just all different kids. Like, Robin's trying to do that. Now Tim Drake's trying to do that. Jason Todd's probably just trying not to kill. Like, I don't know what's going on with him. And then Dick Grayson's like, I wanna be Batman, but not Batman. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be like Bruce. I want to use his money, but for good stuff. And that's he's kind of finding himself too.
What
So,
makes this like the one thing that I don't like about Riley Rosmo's art here
mhm.
is like at one point we saw Ivan Reyes, Tim Drake in the very beginning of Detective Comics, I believe, with
Mhm.
Robin going into college. This
Yeah.
Robin legit looks like he is still 14 years old. Like
Yeah.
like there and I understand, like, oh, you need him to stay a certain age or stay a certain type of character so that way people can still relate to him in that demographic. And it's just like you, y there is a large jump from like being almost being into college to now, like, again, it's the Batgirls problem. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, Stephanie and Cass are actually 12 and 13 years old, or 13 and 14. It's just like that isn't true though. Like,
Yeah.
with how comics have been in the last 10 years, just in the last 10, not in the last
Yeah.
80, in the last 10. Like, these characters have grown. And
Well, they even made Gotham Girl seem younger, and I'm like, she didn't need to be younger.
yeah,
You know, Gotham Girl gave me like early 20s vibes when she came out in King's Run.
yeah,
And then in this other run, they made her seem like she was a teenager.
yeah.
And I'm like, that's not how it should be. And Drake, you're really gonna have a kid living on a houseboat by himself, like, and not think that's sus? You know what I mean? He can't be a kid.
It's
Drake,
very
in
odd.
my mind, is 18 years old. You know what I mean?
I would, yeah, I could see that. But like one of the worst things is Riley Rosmo's design for Tim Drake just reminds me of the evil scientist guy from Dexter's Lab.
Yeah, yeah,
The really
I,
tall one that likes Dee Dee.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I always get that person confused with the weird guy, the weird teacher from Fairly Odd Parents.
Dude, you age Riley Rosmo's Tim Drake and it's
Yeah,
it's the
I forget his
teacher.
name. It's
Uh,
not. There's so many good names in that one, but I forget the teacher's name
uh
because I always think of Dinkelberg.
no
Dinkelberg.
no,
You know what I
it's
mean?
Mr.
Crank
Crocker.
Crocker. There you go. I just love. I don't know how there's a moment that I always find hilarious, and people have made a meme about it. But there's the Crimson Chin, right? There's an episode where there's an evil Crimson Chin, and it sounds like a very bad word that you shouldn't be saying. And I'm just like, oh, how did that pass? And it's always reacted like from people, and they're just like, what did
Oh,
he just say? And it's just it's fucking great. I love Fairly Odd Parents. It's a fantastic show. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to man, what else do we have? I didn't read Audio Adventures because we covered the book or the audio adventure actually. So I didn't read
yeah.
that. But I don't know if you read it. Was it good?
I
Uh,
did not read it, no.
okay. I didn't. Oh, I skimmed Beyond White Knight because even though I don't read the book, I still skim a lot of these Batman books. Harley and Batman kiss at the end, but there's also a body swapping moment, and I think Joker's alive somehow. Like, dude, if you don't read that book, it's fucking wild. Like, I don't know
Wow.
what the fuck's happening over there, but Harley and Bruce are together at the end of this book. And the next, like Murphy always shows the previews to the next pages. They're
Yeah.
like in their underwear and stuff in the next book, so they're banging it out, I guess.
I told you they
Um,
were married at one point,
yeah,
so
so they're back together now. But let's go ahead. We still have a Human Target. What else do we got? We got Detective.
Detective and DC versus Vampires.
We'll end with DC versus Vampires. Let's go ahead and move over to Detective though, because we're what 3 issues in,
Yeah, this is issue
right?
number 3.
I I do honestly. I read this a long time ago. I couldn't even tell you what happened in it. I just remember Batman coming out of rubble with his grappling hook.
Yeah, so I read this today and we get like this, I won't say fairy tale. It's like a story from Talia talking to Damien
Yeah,
about this man and his like long lost lover type thing, and there's like demons and all sorts of, like, it's legit a fairy tale type story.
yeah,
um but then we go to Gotham and we have this moment of like Bruce going to see a doctor.
yeah,
This within itself is stupid because we've seen multiple times that Bruce has his own x-ray machines. He has Alfred look at everything. And so that way there is no like sus like questioning of what Bruce is doing. And you see the x-rays. So the x-rays has uh a broken few broken ribs, a some sort of like concussion fracture in his skull, a broken freaking knuckle, like all of these different things that you're just like, why and how for
Mhm.
Bruce Wayne? And Bruce is like, oh well, I'm a billionaire thrill seeker, and the doctor's like, oh, it's a good thing you're poor now, isn't it? It's like, what?
Yeah. I guess
Uh,
because he can't go do all the fancy shit he's been doing. Yeah.
exactly. It's
Yeah.
just like that's random. Okay, whatever. But then here's the thing. So he's going to this doctor, right? And the doctor says, "Oh, you're saying that you're having a hard time, like just having quality of life issues, right?" Well, Bruce, have you ever thought about the fact that you might be having panic attacks? And it has this panel of Bruce like super pissed at the thought of
Mhm.
panic attacks. And he disappears from the doctor's office. And you see Bruce jumping off the building of the doctor's office. He's like, panic attacks my ass. And he runs
Yeah.
off. And I'm like, this isn't Batman.
I don't
Like,
know. You would. Yeah.
don't get me wrong, because I do think that there is a lot of us, Juice included at one point,
Mhm.
that are like,
Still.
those don't exist. What are you talking about? Like, whatever.
Oh, before. Yes. Yes.
That's what I'm saying. Before. But Bruce Wayne has died, been
Mhm.
resurrected, nearly died, fought against all of these different things, and then you tell him, oh, maybe you're having a panic attack, and that's what pisses him off? That is like unrealistic to him? I'm sorry. I call bullshit. Like, you, like, if you're going on to the story of how Bruce is deteriorating basically because of old age, and he's not being able to keep up being Batman, and you throw panic attacks at him, I don't think it'll phase him. I think he'll research it. I think he will look up meditation and ways to fix that issue. Look at it in a psychological sense. He wouldn't just be like, oh, well, fuck this. I'm going to go run around and throw a tantrum and find this dude in the hospital, beat the shit out of him, because he grabs this random mask that he literally just pulls out of nowhere, puts it on, goes into this hospital bathroom, beats the shit out of this dude, and the cops finally like break in. Bruce has already jumped out the window, and Bruce is still there without the mask though, and is looking straight up at this cop like, "Oh, huh, you almost caught me." My big thing was in this moment immediately after, because the guy at the hospital, it was the guy that Bruce had, or Batman had, stopped at the docks.
Mhm.
He's like, "Hey, every single one of your guys went to jail except for you. Like, what do you have? Like,
Yeah.
why are they keeping you here?" He's like, "Oh, well, I just told him about this thing." And the next page, Bruce is like, "Oh, I know what that is." And he goes to it. Just like how some people are kind of upset that we get the lack of Bruce Wayne,
Mhm.
I am tired of the lack of detective skills in Detective Comics.
Yeah.
You could have shown 3 panels, a page of him just doing research, finding what that was, doing
Yeah.
some detectiving to find out where this is. No, instead, oh, I know that. Let me go find it. And boom, he's there. Breaks
Yeah.
into this place, and Talia's there. And moral of this whole thing is, oh, Talia is basically distracting him from something else. And then we get the other guy that we had seen at the end of the last issue, this Gale guy, and he's planning on attacking uh, the League of Assassins when they are
Mhm.
trying to attack him. And that's the end of the book. It's like there's nothing of true essence of what you gave us in the last 2 issues that complement this or add to it whatsoever.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I read this a long time ago. It was pretty boring. The when he was beating up that guy in the hospital, he's wearing a white shirt and the guy's all bloody and like his shirt is perfectly white still. And I'm like, all right, that's weird. And it's just like a bunch of little things, man. But like, dude, I mentioned that this was gonna be a slow burn. They haven't even put the gasoline in the fire yet for this book.
Yeah.
Like, it is bad. It's not bad. It's boring. It's kind of worse.
And the problem that I see with this is I think Ram V is trying to reinvent Batman. He is doing what he
Yeah,
did with Venom and with Swamp Thing when you don't need to because it's Batman. Because
yeah.
here's the difference between Swamp Thing and Venom, but compared to Batman, Swamp Thing, his new Swamp Thing run that he just did, it was not Alec.
Mhm.
It wasn't the original Swamp Thing. He had to bring in a brand new character to become Swamp Thing, and he had that for 16 issues. That's its own original thing. He had to reinvent Swamp Thing to match this new character. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Same thing with Venom. Venom, Eddie Brock is still Venom in a sense, but the symbiote has now gone to Eddie Brock's son. So you're
Mhm.
having to reinvent Venom for this new character to be attached to the symbiote. With Batman, with Detective Comics, you're not giving the suit to a new character. You're not having to reinvent anything. And he's like, well, how do I do that without bringing in a new character with the cowl? Oh, well, I'll like I think what he's trying to do the Tom King. He's going to break Batman
Mhm.
and then make him rise again.
Yeah.
And in this aspect, there is nothing that really makes it worth me seeing him being broken.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're doing this like everybody's been kind of doing this thing where oh, Batman's old now. You know what I mean? Like he's feeling old or whatever. Like I just don't care, you know? Like, dude, I feel old and I don't want to read about Batman being old, you know what I mean? So like again, that's I guess I read this for escapism, you know what I mean? Maybe that's I'm one of those people now. But I don't know, man. I think it's just kind of like the one thing about comic books I think is really cool is you can kind of get away from the little ailments of stuff. If you were to do this like the perfect timing would have been Tom Taylor's Batman, right? That he was doing. Like, if you had old age stuff happening in that one, that's fine because that's supposed to be like he's like 50 something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, with this particular Batman, I still feel like he's like late 30s. You know what I mean? Something along those lines.
Yeah.
I mean, depending on how you view all the heroes, right? Like, if you're viewing Nightwing in his like mid 20s, then I always see them as like 10 years apart, you know? Nightwing and Batman. That's how I view it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so then that would make Batman in his mid 30s. So like I don't know. I don't really care for all of that stuff. It's cool if you want to play like this mental thing, but Batman fuck panic attacks or whatever. I I can that's very like all-star Batman kind of shit. But at the same time it's
Yes.
like Bruce is a man of education. Like if anybody understood panic attacks and anxiety, it would be him. You know what I mean? Like his dad was a doctor. Like they come from all of that shit. He works with Leslie Tompkins all the time. Like she would probably tell him about this kind of stuff. Like it just blows my mind that he would be so dismissive of something. It's he could be something along the lines of him getting mad that like he has them and realizing he's like I got to get over this. You know what I mean? Like you can do that, but just to like fuck that. Like
Well,
nah.
and that's what I mean. Like in the sense of like he would take it in a psychological sense and
Yeah,
then attack it like a virus. Like he usually does. Like
yeah,
I genuinely think that's what he would do. Whether it be like going to visit Zatanna and being like, "Hey, is there anything magic wise you could do for this?" Or
yeah,
like going to another mentor and saying, "Hey, like everything that I've been doing isn't working. How do I do this?" And you see him train or you see him try whatever method that they suggest. Like
yeah.
I genuinely think that's how Batman would think.
I mean, to be honest, like I feel like I could write a solid panic attack story for Batman and like how he would get over it just because of what I went through. Like, dude, as you mentioned, like before I had a panic attack, I always kind of viewed anxiety as something that people couldn't handle pressure. And because like I've
Yeah.
always been like I handle pressure really well. Like I've been in some crazy situations that I've been like fucking time slows down and I'm like, all right, what do we got to do? How do we fix this? You know what I mean? For me, and I'm like, oh, I think anxiety is just people crushing under pressure. It's not. After I had that panic attack, I thought I was dying, and everything that I've had to deal with after that has been nothing when it comes to pressure. Because I've even had moments where I've been under pressure post anxiety, and I still handle those moments really fine. And so I'm like, this is something different. And so you could say, and I'm in my 30s, so like that could easily happen to Batman later in his life. You know what I mean? Like he could experience anxiety for the first time. And I think that would be an interesting story to see how he would deal with it. Like because I think he would kind of know what it is, but I think it's different knowing about something and experiencing something, you know?
Yeah.
So it would be very interesting to see what he would do. I think a lot of people might not buy that because they're like, he's been trained and all this kind of stuff. So I can understand that. But I like even then, like when I was younger, like there was instances where I was in near death experiences, like when I almost got hit by a drunk driver. Like that time slowed down for me when that shit happened. But I didn't have anxiety or panic attack after that. So like I've been in bad situations and never had this what I felt before. And so like it's really weird. So I don't think you could probably go through all the training in the world and not you can't control panic attacks. They just happen. So I don't know. I thought that was really weird. But Ram V he's failing me hard on this run, man. So that's unfortunate because his Catwoman run was phenomenal. I think it felt like a continuation of Ed Brubaker and Will Fillion, no Pfeiffer, then Will Pfeiffer.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's unfortunate. Hopefully it gets better, but at the moment, not too great. But let's move on to Human Target. When you read the end of this book, did you automatically think Drew was going to be pissed?
No, I didn't. I mean, I think it's just something to remind Drew what happened last issue.
Yeah.
That is still, I think, is going to, because now that you know, okay, Tom King has written Guy Gardner like this,
Mm-hmm.
it's to be expected because
Yeah.
I genuinely already thought what the revelation is at the end of this book was
Mm-hmm.
actually going to be it.
Yeah.
And it seems like we are right. But now the question is there's 6 more issues, I think.
Yeah.
5 more issues. Um what's gonna happen? You know?
Yeah.
And I can
So
kind of assume, but we'll get there when we get there.
yeah. Because even though you said like you kind of already thought it, I kind of think it makes it a little more interesting. But we'll get there because I definitely want to dive into this. So the whole book it starts off with, Chase, right? Is his name? I always
Uh
forget the Human Target's name. Um,
uh
but
Christopher or
Chase, right?
is it
Chance, whatever. The Human Target. The Human
yes.
Target is talking to Fire, and we know that this has been his suspect for a really long time. And they're having this conversation. They're dancing. There's this cool moment where people come in to rob the place, and he's like, "What do you want to do?" And she's like, "I want to continue dancing." And she just like heats up the gun and like
Christopher
sprays it.
Chance
Yeah,
is his
Chance.
name.
Okay, Chance. So she heats up the gun, like that basically stops all the villains from being able to fight. They go on a walk, and like this whole time, Chance is just telling her, like, I know you did it. Like you did this, you did this. He's like laying out all the facts that he's gotten over the last 6 issues. And she's kind of like, he's like, what do you want to do? And she's like, I want to go on a Ferris wheel. And he's like, all right. And so they go on a Ferris wheel, and he pretends to be Luther, which I thought was really cool because remember, he's a human target. He pretends to be anybody he needs to die. And he pretends to be Luther, so they get on this Ferris wheel and they're having this conversation. And as he's kind of like laying out these things and accusing her, he's all like, she could kill me at any moment. She could like heat up the box and like send the Ferris wheel coming down and nobody would know, all this kind of shit. And they're having this conversation, and she's kind of saying like, "Are you accusing me?" And he's like, "No, I am what I am." And he jumps out of the Ferris wheel.
Cause she asks, what do you want?
Yeah,
And he's like, oh, I want you to catch me. And he jumps backwards
yeah,
and falls off. And she immediately turns on her superpowers. Think of her in this instance, like the Human Torch,
yeah,
where in that movie or in the comics or whatever, like all of his clothes just burn off. And that's exactly what happens to her, because the next scene that we see is they're walking down the street and she has on his coat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so she's like, "You're fucking insane." He's like, "Well, I mean, you, you did it. You
Yeah.
saved me. And now we're good because you tried to kill me. But then
Yeah.
you it kind of just wipes away. It cancels out." She's like, "Well, what if I didn't? Then I
Mhm.
still killed you twice as fast." And
Yeah.
he's like, "Yeah, but we don't have to worry about that now. We're good."
Yeah, yeah. So it's pretty interesting here, and she starts slapping him like back and forth, and he's like, "You had the weapon, you had the motive, you did it." And he was like, "You wanted to kill Luther, and you ended up killing me." And she's like slapping him, and he ends up stopping her hand. So like this is the moment in these old noir films where they're like, "All right, we just had this kind of fight. Now it's time to fuck." And she even says that she was like, "I bet you want to kiss me now." Because during the previous conversations, she's always talked about how she's been viewed as a prize. Like
Yeah.
men want to have her, men want to own her, and that she's not that type of girl, essentially, right? But she still kind of plays along. And it's like this new, it's like, I love the art in this book. This art is fantastic. And it just fits really well. And I've always said, if you can get an artist that complements the writing, like the style, very well, it excels the book to new heights.
Yeah.
And so this is fantastic. And so you see this moment, the next page turn, he's waking up in bed and there's somebody next to him, and you're just like, oh, did he just bang fire? Like, isn't he with ice? And he's like talking about, he's like, I wake up, I take my medicine, which he's drinking or whatever, and he's like, and she's laying next to me, and the page turn, it's ice.
Yeah.
So ice showed up after he got home.
Well, before the page turn, he's like, "You shouldn't be here." And she's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I couldn't sleep." And then you see the page turn, it's her.
Mhm.
Um, and he says in his inner monologue, like, "Oh, I already knew she was here. Like,
Yeah.
she came in really late in the night." Uh, and they actually had the conversation of like, "Is it done?" And you're like, "Oh
Yeah.
shit, they're trying to hide the fact that they killed Guy Gardner." And she's like, "Oh, I did absolute zero on the entire house. There's not a single fingerprint or anything in sight." Um, and so she jumps in the shower with him, and the next thing you know, she's getting a phone call from Fire, and she's like, "Oh, it was Fire. You passed her test. Let's go see her."
Yeah.
And this is where the reveal is.
Yeah.
Um, and so she's like, "I know who it was, but I know you're gonna kill him.
Hmm.
You're gonna kill them." And they're like, "We're the good guys. We're not gonna kill anybody." She's like, "Okay." Well, and she goes on to this monologue, and you know exactly who it is just by the
Yeah.
way she's talking about it.
Yeah.
And she's like, I got the water, or I got the water for Guy."
Yeah.
And you
Which is the
see,
poison.
yeah,
Yeah.
you see uh Ice, and then you see Chance. And
Yeah.
in the sequence of how she's talking about these things. Uh and Fire says he was very upset. He said it was for you, to help you, but I couldn't tell you about it. You know him, he's crazy, but he can be sweet too, and he was trying to be sweet without. No one ever beats Luther, and he said he had a way. He said it was for you. So Guy asked me for to get the water, and I did.
Yeah.
And so this is what I'm talking about in the sense of there's 5 issues left.
Mhm.
Guy's dead.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
guy,
yeah.
guy is dead. So
Yeah.
it's like, oh, we found the person who who accidentally tried to murder Chance, right?
Yeah.
And so now what's left? So I assume, because they've kind of already set it up in the sense of like, oh, the Justice League alert hasn't even gone off. Nobody's looking for him, whatever.
Mhm.
Eventually that's going to go off.
Yeah.
I think this is where enter Batman News Weekly. Batman's going to show up.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be doing some detectiving. Um, and I think we're going to see Chris and Batman go at it for a little bit.
Yeah.
Because here's the other thing. With that confrontation, the conversation is going to go, Batman, you can take me in. I'm dying in 3 days.
Mhm.
There's nothing to that. And then he says, well, you may have punched and killed Guy, but Ice is the one that froze him. So she's going down too. So
Yeah.
then it's like, oh, well, you could hurt me and that's no problem, but you got my girl too. No. And like,
Yeah.
then it becomes like probably like a couple chase scenes and whatnot. So there's still story there, but I'm really interested in how Tom King is going to end it, because I don't think there's going to be a cure. I think Chance is going to die.
Yeah.
But what becomes the outcome of this individual story of the poisoning, of the murder, and everything else?
Yeah. Yeah, obviously when I read that, I was like, "Oh God!" I was like, I could hear Drew like reading this book and being like, "Oh, I hate Top King," like he's such. Because he just called me out. He's like, "Oh, you're." He compared me to Snyder Cultist, which I thought was
I
fucking
did see
insane.
that. I think, Drew, you need to go down the rabbit hole just a
Yeah,
little bit further
yeah,
on
yeah,
how these cultists see things when it comes to Zack
yeah.
Snyder.
It's pretty insane. But anyways, um, like, cause dude, I'm not gonna lie. As I was reading this, I was like, cause I was reading this kind of half asleep, and I was just like, oh, I gotta read it for the podcast. And when I was reading it, I was like, well, if he's kind of got her dead to rights, like, what's gonna happen here? You know what I mean? And I was just like, dude, there's still so many more issues left. Like, if she's the killer, where do we go from here? And I was kind of thinking like I've enjoyed the first few issues, right? But I was like, is this book really going to be just Chance questioning every single person until he gets to Ice, Like, or not Ice, Fire. I
Yeah.
was like, is he going to question Batman? Is he going to question like everybody else that they showed at the start of this book? But this is a different turn that I wasn't expecting, and earlier than expecting when it comes to like King's runs. You know what I mean? We usually get this reveal in like issue 10 or 11. And so now I'm just like, oh, fuck, what is going to happen? What I was thinking that might happen was I was like, oh, it would have been crazy if Chance died here. And then again, kind of like you said, Batman showed up and Batman's trying to figure out what happened to Chance, like what happened to the human target. And I was like, oh, that'd be a cool way to bring in Batman into this story and have him be a detective for the second half of the issues. Like I would have been like, oh, that's a different story, because you could still have like Chance in this because then Batman could be going to everybody that he interviewed and being like, why is he dead now? He just interviewed all of you guys and now he's dead. Like that could have been really intriguing. And so now that they found the killer and they are the people that killed the killer, I'm just like, okay, that's intriguing. Now I understand there are going to be people like Drew who don't like characters being changed because of the old thing. My perspective is if these characters haven't done shit in the last few years and you're doing something to make them interesting, I'm all for it. That's kind of what I have. I've never fucking read anything with ice or fire in my life. So I don't care about anything they do. This story is intriguing to me. I don't like Guy Gardner. I always thought he's fucking like F tier Green Lantern. I don't give a fuck about him. So making him a douche because I've always thought he's always the asshole kind of character, right? I don't care if he's a super asshole. Like I'm like, yeah, I got those vibes from him all the time. So I don't care if you're making a better story about him. You know what I mean? And I am not the kind of person that thinks that good people can't do bad things. I'm sorry. I don't like the whole like every superhero is perfect kind of bullshit. You know what I mean? I've never been a fan of that. I like Batman, but he breaks the law every night he goes out. You know what I mean? Like I see
True.
how it is. And I don't know. I don't mind changing up characters that aren't used a lot to do something different. That's just how I've always been. And I think that's why I like King, because he's taking these characters that are not very popular and doing something with them. That's why I love Clock King. I fucking love Clock King. I was like, oh, you brought him to the light? Like, that was cool.
Well, excuse me. That comment of like, oh, if you're not using them in an interesting way and changing them, and not every character is perfect and all of that. For me, if you change a character just like one notch from what they are originally,
Yeah.
it's not that far of a stretch to
Yeah.
believe those characters could do those things. Tom King and what he's doing with Guy Gardner, it's not that big of a stretch.
Yeah.
Because of how he is depicted in comics, yes, Drew, you are right. He is still a good guy in comics. Like, he's still fights the good fight whenever it comes to things with the cosmic stuff and being a Green Lantern and whatnot. But we have seen him be a straight up asshole
Yeah.
and do it because he wants to be the asshole.
Yeah.
And he kind of is being the douche just to be the douche in this book. So again, it's not that far of a stretch. Again, he is a good guy, and there is a lot of people, like you said, that love the good guys can do no wrong,
Yeah.
you know? And so in that mindset, this change to Guy Gardner would be like, "Oh, how dare you?"
Yeah. Yeah. I
Like
can see that.
that is totally understandable in the way that people see it in that way.
Yeah.
But with this, I I enjoy it. And I am more intrigued now knowing that there's still 5 issues left and going, okay, there's still 5 issues left. Chance is 100% dying, but what happens to the rest of the story?
Yeah.
Like you have me hooked enough to say, okay, is ice going down for this? Is fire going down for this? Is the fact that you can definitely trace these things back to Martian Manhunter and Booster Gold, is everybody going down for it?
Mhm.
What's happening? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of intriguing questions. And the one thing I will say about it too is I've said it a million times on this podcast. I don't mind. I like different shit, right? So we bring up the Rosenberg story a lot. I thought that was fantastic. Making a character, putting him in a world, and he's just a brand new character and he dies. Um, I I like stories where good guys can become bad guys. No matter the way you spin it, Chance and Ice killed somebody. They are murderers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I kind of like this idea that the good people in this book have become the bad people. And are they going to get served justice when they were looking for justice? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I like that story. And it's different. It's not the good guy always comes out on top, it's the good guy became the bad guy, and I find it interesting. And if you even if you are a somebody that is interested in Guy and you're like really love Guy and you think, oh, this is fucking stupid, well, Guy's murderers are probably now gonna face justice. You know what I mean? So they're not gonna just Guy didn't just die for nothing. Like they're gonna end up having to pay for it. And it can turn into a weird femme fatale kind of noir story, right? Where the girl who is trying to save people ends up becoming the reason why people die, right? That's what happens in a lot of those detective books. The detective always falls in love with the fucking hot chick and she's trouble. She brings in more trouble than she's worth, and then everybody ends up dead at the end, is how some of those stories go. So, I find it interesting. But yeah, I thought that was dope. But we'll go from there. But let's move on to our final book of the week, and it is DC Vampires. Some reveals in this book that I thought were pretty interesting. But again, this is the main title that is actually good. But what do you think of this issue?
This issue I liked a lot. Like you said, there is some reveals here. Black Manta is not who we think it is.
Yeah.
And there was a character death in here that like was like, oh shit. It just like happened really fucking quick. And kind of sucks because you were actually giving them a lot of compliments last issue with their return to this book.
Yeah.
Um but I really enjoyed this. As far as like some of the things that are happening very quickly, I'm not entirely sure about. Like this whole thing with Supergirl. Like I have a feeling it's very, very odd. I understand that a lot of people think that like, oh, because superheroes are involved, superheroes need to come out on top.
Yeah.
There's a part of me that thinks that this book has a like not a bad ending as in like this book is horrible, but like a
Mhm.
bad ending in the sense of like the heroes don't win.
Yeah. That's kind of how Deceased felt. They
Yeah.
didn't win. Um, they're basically retconning that right now,
Yeah.
because they're back there trying to fix everything. But yeah, no, I can totally get that vibe. You said a character died in this. Are we sure she's dead though?
I it very much seemed that way in the way that she dies. And we'll
Yeah,
go ahead and give it away now. It is one of the Wonder Twins, of course,
yeah,
the only Wonder Twin
yeah.
that's left. Um,
If your
she,
twin dies, are you still a twin? You know, I guess you were technically always a twin,
yeah,
but
but how morbid would that conversation go? They
yeah,
would be like, "Oh, I was a twin," and you're like, "What?"
yeah. What happened to the other ones? Like, they're a part of me now. So are you
Uh,
not? Are you not a twin anymore?
well,
Like,
and so she turns into a water bear and like grabs hold of Aquaman because
yeah.
Aquaman attacks Steel, Black Manta, and Supergirl. And of course, what's her name? Uh Starts with a J.
Oh, the Wonder Twin.
Yeah, I can't
Yeah,
remember her name.
I remember.
Uh Shit. Uh anyway, they she turns into a water bear and Aquaman, vampire Aquaman says, "Oh, you take form of water and attack me? Be gone."
Yeah.
And she explodes. And the way that it looks is that like she explodes in shards. So I
Hmm.
don't know if she like froze or if he froze her.
Yeah.
It's very, very confusing. But there is a giant blood splatter that makes
Yeah.
me think, yeah, she's dead.
Yeah. But the sky is also really red though. So I could see that she died, but also she could turn into water. So can she just like reform? You know,
That's
like that's what
also true.
confuses me about these kind of heroes that can shapeshift. Like,
Yeah.
can they just shapeshift back? So I guess that'll be determined later. She could show up again later and save people again. Um, but yeah, I thought this was pretty interesting because it's essentially this big fight on the water. There was a segment where Green Arrow goes, because we know that he left. He banged Black Canary last issue and was like, "I'm gonna go save these people because it's what I need to do." He's just killing everybody with arrows, which I thought was pretty awesome. He has this like Game of Thrones type of moment where he's the only one facing this horde of people coming at
Dude,
us.
I will say this. Probably the funniest joke in this entire book was Loose Cannon. Um
Yeah.
Brand new character to DC Comics. I'm pretty sure this is a
Mhm.
brand new character. Um because the joke is, I don't know who you are. You're a giant purple monster. I don't appreciate you like making comments about my girl, and then
Mhm.
like kills him. And he's like, well, before he kills him, he's like, "My name is Loose Cannon, and you will know my name." And like Green Arrow like just shoots him down. He's like, "No, I really won't." Like,
Yeah.
sorry, dude. Like you're a nobody.
Yeah.
And I think those moments are kind of great, especially with Oliver Queen, Green Arrow.
Mhm.
I think it works really well with his type of humor, but also with the offset of him being super serious right now in this dark story. I think it
Yeah.
still works very well.
I thought you were actually gonna say when he's like, "We're not done. I'm gonna suck you dry, Green Arrow," and
And
he's
he's
like, "Do you guys ever listen to the stuff you say?"
that was good too.
I was just like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "All right." And then that sequence ended with Hawkman showing up, grabbing Green Arrow, and he's like, "Oh, hey, Hawkman, how you been?" And it kind of ends there. And that's when we were to see Aquaman show up, and this whole fight goes on. And what ends up happening is the we get the reveal that Black Manta is Mira and not, because Aquaman's all like, "You're not Black Manta. He died in the early stages of the war. Like, you're an imposter." And he was like, "Reveal yourself. Like, how do you?" He says something. He's like, "You reveal yourself to a king," and he's like, "I'm a queen." And I was just like, "Oh shit!" And it was like Mira, and they essentially start fighting. And it's a fight to save Kara's life because Kara is the key right now. They're like,
Yeah.
"We're gonna try to get her to Australia, open up the sun, and then she's gonna destroy everybody." Aquaman has the option to kill her, but he's all like, the links that these people are trying to go to save you means you're valuable. And so that means you're valuable to us. You know what I mean? And Mira comes out of nowhere and she just essentially kills Aquaman because they rip each other in half, it looks like. Or she at least it I get that impression. I don't know how you got the impression. But I think she just exploded him. But anyways, Kara starts sinking because she's tied to a rope and she's like, "I need help. I'm sinking. I'm sinking." And that's kind of where we leave her. And then there was this moment where Harley Quinn with, Batgirl and Black Canary and even the Frankenstein dude are trying to get into Gotham. They don't know how to get in. Harley's like, I know how to get out. I don't know how to get in. And they're trying to figure out a way to get in. And that's when Damien shows up. And they're like, oh shit, aren't you a vampire? And he's like, yeah, I'm a vampire, but I'm the only way you're going to get to where you want to go. And so I would have thought that he would have made contact with them a long time ago, you know?
I would think so too, but I do see there being again another stroke of ego with Damien and being like, "Oh, I'm the only one that could save Gotham." Like
Yeah,
being in the same way of his father, being like, "This is my territory. I'm going to take care of Gotham. All the other heroes can take care of everybody else."
yeah. Yeah, so a pretty interesting story. I like the reveal definitely of Mira. I thought that was pretty awesome. But overall, the main story of the vampire stuff is awesome.
Yes.
The side stuff is pretty bad.
Yeah.
And at the end of this book, there is a an ad for the Joker, the man who stopped laughing. It's not great, guys. It's not great.
We will
Uh,
get to that next week because it looks like next week we have to review Batman 128, uh, Batman Night Watch, which I don't think we read the first issue. Did we read that first issue?
no, isn't that like a children's type of thing though?
Oh, I think it is. I think you're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
yeah.
So, Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths 5, uh, Deadly Green. I think that is the Red Hood story, actually.
Deadly Green? No, I thought that isn't. Oh, I didn't even click on that because I thought it was Swamp Thing.
Let me. I am opening up right now just to see.
Yeah,
Um, we
and then
have
we have
Gotham
Azrael.
City Year One,
Yeah, I haven't read that yet.
and then Sword of Azrael number 3. So it does look like Dark Crisis Deadly Green is a Swamp Thing story. Yeah, sorry
Yeah,
about that.
that just made sense. Yeah, and then the Joker, the Who Stopped Laughing one. I'm interested to hear Clay's opinions on that because, man, I read it last night because I was reading the books and I was like, I'm not really tired. I was like, I'll just read ahead, I guess. Um, I haven't read Gotham City yet though, so I still got to read that. We'll check it out. But overall, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. So Clay, I know you mentioned earlier you're not a part of a podcast anymore. So do you have anything? Oh, you
Uh,
mentioned it last week that this is the only thing you're doing, right?
this is the only thing that I'm doing during this month of October.
Yeah.
Now, I am still technically editing things for friends and everything else. I did get a new client that I was working on, which is why I wasn't able to ask for questions this week. But I do want to go ahead and plug that episode because as I was listening to it and as I was editing it, the podcast was actually blowing my mind. If you guys are fans of Star Wars, um, 3 historians got together and looked at Star Wars with a historian brain. Um,
Hmm.
so instead of just talking and nerding out about Star Wars, they asked questions the same that like historians would ask about our own history, but in regards to Star Wars.
Yeah.
So it was a really cool conversation. So if you guys want to check that out, that is coming out October 3rd, which will be Monday of the next week that this episode drops on. And the podcast is called A Larger View of the Force. It's going to be episode 43. So make sure you are subscribed and check out that podcast. It was really, really fun. It was a little bit of a monster to edit, but it was really, really good. So go check that out. And of course, go check out the Andor reviews on Star Wars Alliance. And then, yeah, just always be here at Batman News Weekly.
Yeah, the podcast where Clay can say all his negative opinions. But that's going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. You can come check out. I haven't live streamed in a while. Just, go check out my links in the description if you want to check out any of my content. I've only really been uploading to the Shorts channel. I've been swamped with my editing job. And yeah, that's going to be it. But as always, ladies and gentlemen, go subscribe to the YouTube too. Appreciate everybody that's been subscribing to the YouTube and actually watching over there. You guys are dope. But as always, ladies and gentlemen, he is Fanboy Clay. I am Juice Wayne. And remember, Batman is awesome.